Hello, Smite fans, and welcome to another day of the Smite World Championships. We're going to have a lot of semifinal matches today over in Group B is going to be the main focus. But all that is thanks to our good friends over at Alienware for sponsoring Season 8 of the SPL. Make sure to go over to smitegame.com/Alienware. Use code SMITEAW to see all the cool things that Alienware has to offer to the players and to you at home. Make sure to follow them on their social media at Alienware on Twitter and Instagram, and go to AlienwareArena.com to see all the cool things that they have going on between giveaways and all the other cool gadgets they have out there. Thank you so much to Alienware for being the title sponsor here of Season 8, providing all the great gear that our pros get to play on. And speaking of the pros, we're going to have a pro match today here. First off, it's going to be up against the SCC teams, though. It's J-Mac and Gormizer joining me here for set one.
You said speaking of pros, and I thought you were about to try and introduce me with some, and I was like, there's nothing you could say after that that has any relation to me other than, here's a guy that talks about him a lot.
You are a guy who talks about the pros a lot. We're going to talk about a little bit today here, Gore, because we've got two pro matches, one with the SCC team being the Dragons and SLEEKNESS facing off here. And then we also are going to have another one later on with the Bolts and the Valkyries. Let's take a look at what you may have missed yesterday, though, because we did have some semifinal matches. We had the Leviathans and the Winter Dogs face off. Leviathans took a 3-0. And the Scarabs and the Oni Warriors took us to our first Game 5 set and our first, well, non-3-0 set of the weekend.
Yeah, and that one was a fun one to watch, too. I mean, just the fact that it's really weird to think about it because, realistically, there were at least 2 stomps in that set. And yet it was one for each team. You get 2 games that are somewhat close for each of them, and then ultimately you get to see the Scarabs have a full reverse sweep. It just felt good. It had everything that you want in a Smite set.
Yeah, you get a little bit of everything, and maybe we can get some of that today. Jade Dragons and SLEEKNESS, the first set of today, and then the Olympus Bolts and the Valhalla Valkyries to close out our Thursday afternoon. Let's take a look over at the bracket for Group B and get to see kind of their path that leads in. The 2 winners of today will go on to face off tomorrow in the finals. And then from the finals, the winner of that one just goes straight to the SWC. That's going to be taking place in January. And losers will have to face off and make a little bit of a harder route to try and get their way in there.
And this is the way I kind of realized yesterday in the middle of one of the sets was 2 wins, you get to go to Worlds, right? If you get 2 set wins, you're moving on. 2 set losses, you're out of the tournament. So a lot of that, well, save for that very first day, SLEEKNESS and what was and I guess is still Winter Dogs are exceptions just because they need 3 wins, considering they had to play that 1 extra game. But like they are in this position right now where you are just looking for a couple of set wins, whether or not you're going to be able to get 1 today and then 1 immediately afterward. What is that? I guess Saturday, or 1 that you're going to be able to find. Actually, it might be tomorrow. 1 today, 1 tomorrow, 1 today, 1 on Saturday, 1, wherever they happen to be, those are going to be the important wins for you just to make it so you can get to Worlds.
Yeah. Talk about a team that SLEEKNESS gets to face off here after their victory over against Elysium. They get to play against the Jade Dragons.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest here, Gore. It feels like these are 2 teams that kind of play somewhat similar styles. You get the North American scrappy style early game that really does come out of SLEEKNESS and the Jade Dragons. Somewhat similar god pools. I mean, we saw, the Zeus come out a couple of times from SLEEKNESS in their set. And, well, that's something that the Dragons kind of brought up into the meta with pretty much the exact same style here. Jade Dragons, I think this could actually be a really fun set. I'm going to be honest here. I'm not sure if this is going to be the 3-0 that some people are expecting. I think that we could see some sparks flying here. But with the Jade Dragons, talk a little bit about maybe their support over here, kind of that matchup here, because PBM likes to play some weird things. Quig likes to play some weird things. But PBM, he's kind of the man behind a lot of the plans here with the Jade Dragons.
And a lot of the plays, realistically, when you're looking for the setup. I actually really like that we start on a Ganesh highlight because specifically this Ganesh, that corner is nuts. But also has felt better, right? I mean, he gets the knock-up immunity in a recent patch, so he's feeling a lot better in those regards. But he feels like he's skyrocketed in terms of capabilities. We know Yamoja is something that you have to worry about with PBM. Obviously, he's got a lot of Guardians there in the pocket that you have to be stressed out about. And it goes to what you were saying, and specifically what we've been seeing out of this team. I think the only downside that the Dragons have is that while their ceiling is ridiculously high, I mean, like world champion caliber, could easily make it to the finals and win. Sometimes their floor is a lot lower than you expect, right? You come in, and there's just a couple of stumbles. They're usually really good at correcting that, and since this is a best of 5, I expect we're going to see some of that in this set. But they are one of the only teams I think I've seen, that will typically, I guess we actually saw it yesterday as well, but you win in sub 20 minutes, and then you get pushed to a 45-minute game where you lose. We saw that happen with the Warriors yesterday, but the Dragons, if they can find the consistency we're used to out of them from not just last year, but realistically what we know they're capable, especially because it's postseason. This is like what they've been training training for all year. This is going to be a very difficult task for Sleekness to be able to take them on.
Yeah, I think the picks and bans are going to be real interesting between these two teams because, like I said earlier, they do have a lot of similarity between some of their players individually, and their supports is probably where the most interesting battle is going to be. We got PBM standing by for a pregame interview before we jump on in. Mike, thanks so much for sticking by and giving our pregame interview. Just going to start it out here, just kind of casual with it. I mean, how did you guys spend your break after the Phase 3 playoffs? What did the team kind of do?
I think a few of us went home to spend Thanksgiving with our families. A few of us just chilled and hung out. Got back to scrimming. Nothing crazy.
Yeah. You guys are going up here against the SCC team Sleekness. They were number 1 coming out of the circuit playoffs. They got their first win up over Elysium. How do you guys kind of prep for an SEC team, especially since, we haven't seen these guys play for a couple of months, and now you've only got, one set of data? What's some of the prep work that goes into this team?
Pretty much just seeing what they, did a couple days ago. They're kind of in the same boat as us. I mean, we played 2 sets in the past, month and a half, 2 months, something like that. So not really a ton to go off for either team. Kind of, I guess some of the benefit of not having to play a European SEC team, for example, is that, you play against these players in ranked all the time. So you generally get a better idea of what they like to play and do. Same thing, for them facing us. So really just adapting mid-set if there's issues is the best course of action.
Got any quick predictions or expectations on this set, Mike?
No, we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mike, for sticking by for the interview. Good luck in your set.
Thanks.
I think that might be an important thing to kind of throw out there that he said is, this is a team that because, they're here in North America, we played against them in ranked games. We play against them maybe even in casual games. We also haven't played very much in the last couple of months here, so you never know what's really going to come out of these guys, Gore.
And realistically, that was actually some interesting vibes. First off, you've got the cat going on.
Bond villain vibes.
Yeah, that feels like a villain, but Mike is usually very kind of happy, at least energetic. That felt very subdued as well. So I'm wondering, it's maybe a little early for him. That might be what's going on. But ultimately, it just kind of feels like they are not stressed, not worried, but not ecstatic either. So I'm curious as to what's going on in the mentals here for the Dragons right now.
Yeah, I'm also curious to see kind of the mentals that'll be happening with Sleekness throughout the set. They got their win up against Elysium, a hard-fought, almost 30-plus minute game for every single one of them they had up against Elysium. They didn't really feel like they had to show a lot of tricks either. I think that's something amongst these SCC teams. I mean, we saw the Zeus mid 2 games in a row. Then it finally got banned in game 3. Quig got to play his E-set support, and everybody else just continued playing the same game that they've been playing the last 3 months.
You say that way too casually for what the words you said were. We saw, the Zeus, first off, Nehu had some nuts games on Zeus, and I think the damage output that he was able to get was insane. This Erlong Shin was very important, but this is what, despite the fact that, for this team, it isn't that outrageous, it's still outrageous a little bit, right? Having E-set support come through and be as successful as it was, as controlling as it was, I think this is something that if they pull in and try to play it against the Dragons, it is feast or famine, right? Either you are going to absolutely roll over them because you have this really aggressive composition, or you're going to get eaten alive because the Dragons are just going to say, cool, you're squishy, let's fight and see what happens. That being said, I do think it creates this interesting god pick economy, because Sleekness have, like you had highlighted, a lot of very similar gods to what the Dragons are going to be bringing in, but also have that flexibility. They played Horus in the one game that they didn't have that E-set as a support, and you have to imagine if those were the only 2 gods we saw from Quig, there's still 3 or 4 more that really we didn't get to see, and I'm wondering if those are going to get forced out, or if they're even going to try them, or if today's just going to be a completely different style than what we saw on Tuesday.
I think maybe not even just the Horus. I mean, Dude Man Bro, that's one of the first times we've seen him on a magical hunter. Usually he's been piloting things like the Cupid and the Hachiman. Those have kind of just been the 2 that he's going towards. And he's really looking good on those 2 picks, especially the Hachiman as of recent during the Phase 3 or the circuit playoffs that happened right before Phase 3. Technically, that was their Phase 2. Feels like so long ago. He was just dominating on Hachiman in every single game, and teams weren't taking it. And then when they did, he just went to Izanami as another pick here. So the fact that Game 3 is the only time that we saw any real differentiation in their builds or in their god selections here, I think has a lot to speak volumes for this team as we get ready to jump into this matchup against the Dragons.
Yeah, this is going to be, again, depending on the Dragons we get, is what I think, and the Sleekness we get, because I think Sleekness, their high, the Dragons high as well, could make an incredibly competitive team, but like a couple of slip-ups, or especially with the way these teams like to play, all it takes is like a wrong step in 5 minutes, and the game could essentially feel over, because both of these teams, especially from what we saw Tuesday for Sleekness, but what we've just seen out of the Dragons kind of consistently throughout the year, every now and then they just decide to roll over whoever their opponent is. It could be the top-seeded SPL team. It could be the bottom-seeded SPL team. No matter what, they just always come in, and then sometimes they'll have that game where it's like, cool, 18 minutes, we're done and dusted. We didn't need any more time than this. And then it's how they go into the next game, right? What do they do to reset? Because it's usually right after they get like an initial stomp, that's where things kind of get rough for the Dragons. So I want to see if they can handle that consistency a little bit forward. I also think, if I remember correctly, PandaCat the other day was complimenting a lot of these SCC teams and how they were able to play. I know yesterday we got to see it for the Winter Dogs, but I believe he was talking about Dude Man Bro on Tuesday as well, just watching what these teams had to offer.
Man, I'm ready to see the sparks fly just in this duo lane between Dude Man Bro 429 Quig versus PBM PandaCat, two of the most seasoned veterans in the duo lane, up against the hot hands of the SCC here. Remember, Sleekness was number 4 going into their playoffs. They were the 4th seeded team, and then they came out, won it. So they're the number 1s coming into this event. BD Elysium now here up against the Jade Dragons. Should be a very fun match to watch. I think that mid lane is another place that I'm going to be really paying attention towards, especially with the similarities in the God pool between those two mid laners.
Yeah, I was not only thinking, because like we mentioned the Zeus, which is something that Hurry got to play twice during the playoffs and otherwise was banned away from Heroine the entire time. Because they played it and played it so well, I wouldn't be surprised if Sleekness or Dragons, whichever one's second pick, potentially bans that away just to try and control a little bit more of that mid lane. But you also have to look at some of the others. You know, typically Tiamat is at the tip of my tongue when it comes down to let's talk about mid lane, but we haven't seen much of that from her. You know, like Soul is something that has been big. If I go back specifically to what they were doing in the Phase 3 playoffs, I think that's going to open up a little bit more of that conversation. But it really was like, let's focus up and try to get that Zeus. He was maybe the highest performer. I know they had a couple of weird games where they even were willing to pull in, like they played Zhang Kui at one point, and he looked good when they do play it. And so it's just the question of whether or not the Dragons are playing some of that. Well, I guess the Dragon special. Nobody else is really doing some of the stuff that they do. And so if they can pull that out, I'm sure they'll be fine.
I think it's that same regard for Sleekness, is there's things that they're doing that nobody really else is. The ESET support, they're one of the only teams out there doing it. I've heard, you know, some of the pro players, I'm just going to say one directly. I've heard Genetics talking very highly about the potential of ESET support, but nobody else really outside of Quig is really playing this god. I don't know why we switched cameras there, by the way. Mike Cat was supposed to be the only thing there, but before we go a little bit further here, first bans coming out, though. Kamazat's Ganesh and Kleena actually going to be banned away by Sleekness. And then we see the immediate respect out of the Jade Dragons. Olarun banned away from Dude Man Bro. And Quig gets a target ban in that ESET.
Yeah, that's the one that's not necessarily wild. We saw it worked out pretty well for them overall. And in comparison, the Horus did not give them the amount of control in that lane that they had when they had the ESET. And it's just, you know, when you think about the factors of it, ESET brings a lot of damage and good CC very quickly to the equation versus Horus, who has the single target CC early on. It takes a little while to get rolling. Yeah, you're effective, but it's not necessarily the end-all be-all for it. The thing I'm most interested in, because we talked a lot about like supports, especially because Quig plays such a weird, wide god pool, but also specifically what PBM is able to bring. I also think the jungle matchup here is important. This Erlong Shin was very kind to Sleekness the other day, so I expect this to do really well. But Sam is the one that I want to hone in on, because there's a lot of gods that I think are a little more viable now. But with that Kleena, especially with Kamazat's getting banned, it is going to limit some of the more quote-unquote viable junglers right now. But he wasn't really playing any of them anyway.
You know, Gore, one of the questions that always comes up, you know, when you have two teams that really love one god specifically in a role, I'm going to kind of pick this Zeus out here, and you know, you kind of picked on the Erlong Shen. When you're the two teams that really love playing this god, I got to imagine you've got to have some kind of counter strat in your backpack to where when somebody else picks it, well, now you already know what to do to go against it. It's Erlong Shen for Sleekness, Zeus, and Yamoja out here for the Dragons. But, I mean, if you're the Dragons here and you're picking up Zeus, Sleekness now, I've got to imagine they have something to try and fight up against this.
Yeah, you got to hope you have a good counter for it. We mentioned it, and we've talked about it. Like, the best thing is that since he's really only building the book build, is that you've got a timer at the and beginning of the game where he's still just kind of Zeus. Like, he does get movement speed at a very copious amount at base level. What is it, 20%? Yeah, that you pick up at level 1 on that shield. So you can be moving pretty quickly and get out of a lot of things that you shouldn't otherwise. But he's still Zeus, right? It's still someone you can kill. His damage is a little more manageable early on because the detonate's not going to do as much, chain lightning's not going to do as much, but you have a timer before he starts just living through everything. The downside is you've got all of that going for you, and now there's a Umoja on the team. So that timer isn't on that Book of the Dead anymore. It's when does Mike rotate over to this lane to keep his mid laner alive?
Well, not just the Umoja, he's got an Achilles to kind of back him up here when you start getting to those mid and late game fights, and now and Izanami and Nike on the opposite side here for Sleekness. So still not really changing up a whole lot in their pick strategies. This is gods that we've been seeing in the meta. These are gods that we've been seeing this team play specifically throughout the weekend and throughout their time during the SCC. And as the second round of bans come through, it looks like it's some targets over towards the jungle role specifically. Serket and Fenrir taken away, and also the Morrigan. Even despite some of the Morrigan nerfs that we've seen in the past, it seems like she's still a very potent god.
And this is perfect because, you had mentioned it. We saw Zeus. Nehu had a great couple of Zeus games the other day. The third game where Zeus was taken away, was banned out from them, goes to the Morrigan, right? So now everything that we at least saw the other day has been stripped away. So you have to come in, have a good performance on something we haven't seen yet. Still easily done, right? That's only 2 gods in a vast, vast pool of mages that exist in the game. So I don't think he's going to be sweating it right now, but you're definitely feeling the pressure. The Jade Dragons definitely watched and are making sure they took note of what Sleekness like to play.
I'm very curious where Quig is going to go, though, because, we talked about the Iset being taken away. We talked about the Horus that's come out here, but you've already got 3 physical. You throw a Horus in there, now you're adding a 4th one, and then you're leaving only your mage as your magical damage, which isn't a bad thing to have as your lone mid laner as the sole magic damage on the game. But is there some more tricks up Quig's sleeve here? As the last ban comes through, it is a dodgy, so 3 targeted bans towards the jungle in this latter half of the phase, taking some shots here, at least over at Sam for Soccer. With that Achilles locked in, we do know that there is some flexibility with this god in a few different roles.
Yeah, that's, I think, the fun thing. We saw him a lot yesterday in solo, and that wouldn't be surprising to me to see, but also something that Sam could potentially play out of the jungle if they want. And they're keeping it perfectly ambiguous so they can get a good counter pick, whether it's for jungle or solo. It's going to be helpful here. You get really safe picks. Everything the Dragons have right now is high damage carries and people who can set up high damage carries. And with Umoja, there's also that side of keep them alive real good, too. If I'm looking at this, that's actually not at all what I was thinking. I was still thinking Geb's available, and I was going to talk a lot about Geb. Luckily, he saved me from going in on one god. I like Bacchus. Actually, I really like Bacchus into this matchup, too, only because you've got that base anti-heal. If you're looking for someone who's going to disrupt the backline, you've got the belly flop to get back there. Intoxicate is a surprising amount of damage, and you get the belch with the anti-heal 50% flat that you're going to be able to apply, so that helps stifle a little bit of Umoja and open up the opportunities to kill this Zeus a lot easier in those 3v3s.
You get this Bacchus. On the other side now, the Jade Dragons are looking at one of Sam's signature, World's MVP picks here in this Hun Bats to the jungle.
I love it.
But he immediately flips it, and as soon as I try and go onto a tangent about a god, he says, no, hold on, let's stop here. Mercury, the final selection for the Jade Dragons. And we'll talk about that. I want to kind of throw it over to this Agni because he did get a buff recently with the Noxious Fumes getting some extra damage when it actually does ignite, when you get that stun that pops off there.
Yeah.
But then we only saw maybe like one Agni game and nobody else touched him.
Yeah, and I'm honestly excited to see what he can do because I like Agni. The downside is if I'm looking at who's going to do more damage in the two of them, it's Zeus, hands down, right? Easily.
Yeah.
But you do have a lot of setup. Erlong, Izanami, you're going to have a lot of pressure on them in the late game, whether it's crit or whatever build this Izanami ends up going. This Agni gets good damage out there, but you're really going to be setting up. You're finding stuns. Your Flame Wave is really nice. Zeus is going to outdamage you 8 times out of 10, maybe even more than that every time you play this matchup. So you really are trying to be that balancing point. And Agni is one of my essential, if you want to see what a mage can do in Smite, he's the best example because he's got a little utility, a little damage. But the question is whether or not Sleekness can make it look that great. I will mention though the Mercury just because I know that we're going to jump into game soon. Sam has an 80% win rate on this Mercury this year.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I'm just going to let the mic drop there because that speaks for itself. Sam's good at this god.
Yeah, I mean, there was a brief point in what, like Phase 2 kind of ended Phase 1, and we didn't really see much in Phase 3, but Mercury was just straight banned from the Dragons no matter what.
They
even
weren't allowed
if
to play
Mercury wasn't meta, it was, we're facing the Dragons, ban Mercury. We don't want anything to do with that here. You get the Agni, as you talked about, for getting some good utility in the mage, some good long-range damage, which is something that you kind of need up against the Zeus. You don't want to be in Zeus's face as a mage.
You know, and in fact, it's actually really funny you get to say that because I look back on it.
Here we go.
28 games where Mercury has been banned against the Dragons. He's only got to play it 10 times, but he's had it banned against him 28. And that is the kind of performance that Sam has on this god.
Wow. That is...
That's yeah.
So he's only
also,
got
crit's kind of meta right now, so that's even better.
Yeah, crit is kind of gross at this moment here. So we had 10 games where he did get to play it, 8 of those 10 games that he won, and then 28 games where every team was like, no, you don't ever get to touch this god again. So essentially, like, what, a 75% ban rate up against him, and then an 80% win rate. Talk about a stat to have on a Mercury here. Gormaz, looking at these two comps before we quickly jump into game, which one you kind of got some favor towards?
Well, right now, first, Dave asked me a question, and it was, how many times has Mercury been banned against any other team? The answer is none this year. He literally hasn't been banned against anybody else, so that's all of his bans that I can see. Yeah, that's a big deal for him. I have to say the Dragons are winning my heart right now.
Well, with that, JADE Dragons and Sleekness, game number 1. Let's throw it right over to David Mifflin to bring us all the action.
JADE Dragons start their march towards the Smite World Championships here in game 1 against Sleekness, who will continue their march to the Smite World Championships after a win earlier on this weekend against Elysium. Dolson, Mifflin, and of course Doug will be bringing you all the fun throughout this best-of-5 set. And Mifflin, if you're at home, you might be thinking this one, JADE Dragons, the SPL team, league favorites, fan favorites, gotta be a 3-0 for sure. But you're not so sure about that.
No, I've just been so impressed by Sleekness's diversity of draft, their style of play, their ability to transition these early picks into massive objectives. And I really think that they can bring the fight to the JADE Dragons. With that being said, this is not a Sleekness draft in my mind. You don't have your weird unorthodox picks. You don't have that heavy confirmation E-set that has been doing a lot of work for them around these Gold Furies. I think this is going to be a game where one of the star players of Sleekness is going to have to step up. I'm talking about Dude Man Bro, who's getting accosted right now, and I'm talking about Oath out of the jungle. These two have been having a great season so far, and they're going to have to do it here today.
Quig has stepped up for the Sleekness team as well, especially with some of those unique picks that you talk about. We'll return to that Bacchus here in just a moment. Sanford Soccer a bit poked out, but the positioning of the JADE Dragons a bit aggressive. Not much more there as Nehu and Oath will back away. And the cat's low here. That's a dash in from Dude Man Bro. Will he find an opening kill on one of the best duo lanes in the SPL? He will not, and Panda Cat able to back away. Oath is low in the mid lane. There is scrapping happening all over the place. Sanford Soccer does complete a kill in the mid lane. Now he's got the chase down onto Oath, or Nehu rather. Oath does go down. Run from Mike, and my goodness, we are not slowing down to start off this set.
Quig forced to pop the meditation. If he had any other relic, likely would have fallen down there. JADE Dragons on the brink in the duo lane, able to fight their way back in, utilizing that sustain from Yamoja, and Sleekness struggling in mid, getting caught out by Sanford Soccer. Worth noting, Mercury has had some buffs recently. Made You Look now goes through walls. So Sam, he can be a little bit more diverse in how he approaches these fights.
And so that's where I want to now put the magnifying glass, because the Death set it up so well. You talk about Sanford Soccer, a guy who's only been able to play this pick 10 times, has won 8 out of those 10 games on the Mercury, has had it banned against him 28 times, and has not been banned against anyone else in the league. It has only been banned against Sanford Soccer to the tune of 28 bans. And First Blood shows you why.
God.
Another dash in from Dude Man Bro, though. Panda Cat is low. This is where Izanami can effectively trade those auto attacks. Will make their way through PBM. And Panda Cat able to survive. Didn't get to see it in the mid lane there, Miff, but if we can take a look back and see exactly what happened. Sanford Soccer, this one seems pretty straightforward. Blinks
simple.
in, gets some autos.
Immediately afterward, drops Nehu down to half HP as well. I gotta talk about it though, man. This pressure from Dude Man Bro already is amazing. He's not missing auto attacks. Panda Cat is playing very well around his wave, playing behind every single one of these minions, but it doesn't matter. Izanami auto attacks through in the second. Dude Man Bro is given the opportunity, pops that stim, lands like 20 autos.
Is that expected though? But with the, of course, if you cover up PBM and Panda Cat, the names, Is it expected that you see this much pressure? Sanford Soccer, he's going to engage over on the right side of the jungle. Oath has already died. He'll die again. Sanford Soccer's got another. Is there enough damage? I think Detonate is already right down Main Street. Sanford Soccer on the follow-up, and he is off to a 3-0 start. This is worst-case scenario for Sleekness. Sanford Soccer on one of his signature picks has got 3 kills. And Myth, we're starting to get just a bit out of control here. 4 kills in 3.5 minutes. All of them for the Jade Dragons. One of them a solo kill. 3 of them on Sanford Soccer in one of his signature picks.
Man, the doctor is in, Dave. This is a clinic from Sanford Soccer. Mercury is not that high pressure of a god at this point of the game. Considering he's already finished off the Crusher, he should have an advantage in these fights, but Mercury's scaling is the name of the game for that god, and you got to think if he's looking this good 3.5 minutes into the match, no, he's going to get much, much better, especially considering, take a peek at the build there, it could be a Protector of the Jungle, could also be Seer of the Jungle, but Protector recently got a massive buff, you get massive attack speed stem from that as well. I'm keeping my eyes on this build. Generally, when you go towards Eye of the Jungle this early on, like Sanford Soccer has, you're sacrificing sustain, which means you're not able to gank as constantly.
Well, you can gank mid lane pretty constantly. That's where Sanford Soccer has been at the large part of this game. There are beads for Nehu. There are no longer beads for Nehu. Sanford Soccer takes a little damage. That's a trade he will take every single day of the week. And so the Agni sub 50% HP will have to limp away back towards the red buff. But PBM is not going to make this easy. You'll throw an attempt over the wall. But Dude Man Bro able to drop that down. So the Jade Dragons, the only lane in which they are maybe slightly behind has been this duo lane. The Bacchus and the Izanami has found pressure for Sleekness from the onset of this game. And then you imagine, Miff, you have to then talk about Sanford Soccer, maybe the ability to put some pressure on the left side of the map, because that has been the Sam special, right? The Mercury ultimate straight down the left side, tier 1 tower to tier 1 tower. Got to be something Sleekness is worried about.
Yeah, generally when we see the Mercury lock-in for Sam, it's matched up with a highly aggressive hunter. On her comes to mind. Danzaburo, one of those targets as well. Chronic dropped into execute range. Fine, okay. Does not need to dive, and so will not dive this time. But now Sanford Soccer is playing this Mercury jungle with a Heimdall. There's a level of aggression that you can get on that pick, but not something I associate with him. When we talk about Heimdall, he's like the safest hunter in the game, maybe second safest now that Charybdis has come out. So I think that means that we're going to see a lot more of Sanford Soccer playing around the lanes that have already established a lead. You can leave Pandacat alone on an island and trust him to farm up, especially since he's already got his beads back online, ultimate available, giving you that CC immune dash. Dude Man Bro's got decent kill pressure, but I don't think enough to put threat on a Pandacat on his own. So if Quig stays in duo, maybe we see some rotations from the Jade Dragons over towards that side of the map. But other than that, I think Sam's fine to just keep running it down mid.
Yeah, it's been mid. And Nehu 50 seconds away from those beads being back up. So a small window. Sanford Soccer does have his ultimate ready to go. Blink is there as well. That's where Nehu's going to have to position a little bit more defensively. Though against a Mercury, there's only so much defensive positioning you can take, especially with pathing like this. Sanford Soccer has just absolutely decimated the Sleekness right side of the map. Has the cooldowns on those Harpies. Will go back, pick those up. Speed buff will be here shortly. But he's just not leaving much for Oath. And that's got to be an awkward position. Oath is now down 2 levels. Mercury, you figure, scales up a little bit later on into the game. This is, Myth, what you would hope would be the power point for Oath. This is where you want the Erlong Shen to be getting involved.
And Oath automized for this point of the game. Mannequin Scepter early on, already has the Crusher as well. Erlong Shen, on paper, should be outscaling Mercury for probably the next couple of minutes, but considering the pacing that Sanford Soccer has established and the lead he's got already, 2 levels in the jungle, 7 minutes in, yeah, I think Oath's just going to be playing the catch-up game, and he doesn't have any resources to do so, considering we just saw what happens to his farm in the jungle. It belongs to Sam.
Yep, Pandacat now alone with Dude Man Bro here on left.
When did he get a lead?
Yeah, couldn't tell you, Myth. I mean, they were a level down. The Jade Dragons were, at least at level 5. The Sleekness duo lane reached that first. Oath will toss the pin on into the mid lane. Will come up empty-handed. And so now the trend is officially worrying as Sanford Soccer heads towards Oath's tier 1 tower. Oath will waddle away here, so empty-handed for the time being is Sanford Soccer. That's a jump in from Quig. Lightning Storm down from Hurry when he's on the other end of the River's Rebuke, but it's not going to matter. The escape path has been cut off, and Sanford Soccer It's keeping the Sleekness team at bay. Chronic is able to pull one, but it's a 2-for-1 trade. Finally a kill on board for Sleekness, but the Jade Dragons get another couple.
Both in some trouble here. FineOK not able to close gap and find that stun. The pathing we saw from Hurrywind in that last fight was so good. Jukes forward to avoid the jump.
Would have been.
As Chronic avoids the dash as well, able to leap his way out of there. The pressure from the Jade Dragons is crazy. That's an 8.5-minute Tier 1 mid tower. That's the most important Tier 1 in the game. All of a sudden, Gold Fury, Pyromancer are going to be much easier for the Jade Dragons to start rotating towards, because now Sleekness legitimately doesn't have anywhere to run away to if a fight starts to go south. This is tough stuff, man.
All right, so you got an Izanami that scales, right? You're feeling good about that if you're Sleekness, and you're only catching up once Hurrywind hits level 20 and then Sanford Soccer hits level 20, right? I mean, there's catch-up territory for Sleekness, but that's like 10, 15 minutes down the road. For the time being, this is the Jade Dragon style of play that we've seen them find so much success with in the past, where they're able to push one of these early leads, keep the ball rolling. That said, they've diversified their win conditions as a team, the Jade Dragons have. They have been able to push the games later on, farm up, fight late in games, and still find success. But when you think Jade Dragons, it's this style of play, and it's Sanford Soccer who's spearheading the effort right now. He'll go Rage with his second item now on this Mercury. And so it looks like one punch is maybe on his mind.
Yeah, and already considering the pacing that he's had, that Rage is going to stack up pretty quickly. Has penetration early on thanks to the Crusher. Yeah, so even in slowing down his build, going for the slightly more expensive item, he still has an entire item on Oath nonetheless.
Yeah.
So
2 levels.
Yeah, don't fight around Sanford Soccer if you're Sleekness. Dude, man, bro, the only one who's been able to hold his own in the lane so far, that should be the goal for the Order side team. Play around that long lane.
But there has been no attention paid to the left side of the map by the Jade Dragons or Sleekness. It was a good-looking lane for Sleekness early, a slight level lead that has now gone by the wayside in both roles. Mike has got a 1-level lead. Panda Cat has also got a 1-level lead. Everyone else on the map is also 1 or 2 levels ahead outside of FineOK, who's just got a slight lead. Pyromancer, quick work by the Jade Dragons. First neutral objective will go down. Gold Fury started by Sleekness. I had wondered what the end game was here. Panda Cat knows this is going on. This is risky. If there's a steal on the horizon, that could just end this game. Sleekness takes down the Gold Fury, but Panda Cat, he's got big damage onto Quig, who will leap away. But right down the middle goes Sanford Soccer. He's got Quig, and Quig delivered to the back line. Hurrywind snags the kill. It's a double on the other end, and it is a Gold Fury for what? 3 go down. Mike gets 1. Panda adds another. 4 down for Sleekness.
Wait, there's at least one more. Chronic's still alive on the other side of the map, locked inside of his Tier 2 tower, by the way. Look, Sleekness has never had to answer the questions that the Jade Dragons are asking right now. In the SCC, Sleekness is bar none the most aggressive early game team that they've got. Now they're playing against the progenitors of this style of play at the SPL level. The Jade Dragons brought the fight so early on, Sleekness kind of got swept away early. But there still is some potential to fight back in. 6,000 gold down, 11 minutes in, you're already out of all your Tier 1 towers, no neutral objectives on the map. Sleekness can probably safely farm for about the next 4 or so minutes. Fire Giant, kind of an option, actually, for the Jade Dragons now that I'm looking at it. This could be a very fast Fire Giant. You've already got a 4-stacked Rage.
I mean, it's not the same, but we saw how fast like Pyro went down, right? I mean, it gives you a slight indication.
I think they could just do Fire now that I'm reading it. That's not great for Sleekness.
Yeah, it's not ideal, right? I mean, the Jade Dragons, though, I think a patient enough team that you might, scale up a little bit more. Maybe we get ourselves one more
Mike might solo
fight.
him.
You think he could? I mean, he's level 11. Nehu's also level 11. Let's see if Mike can get out of this one. He's not taking a whole lot of damage. Belly Flop won't be there, and Mike walks into the Lion's Den with 3 and will come out alive. Hurrywind drops the Lightning Storm.
Oh my
Goodbye.
God.
See you later. Hurrywind's on a killing spree. And this Zeus has already got Book of the Dead, stacked up Book of Thoth. And we're wondering what picks and bans might look like for Game 2 at this point. The Jade Dragons not the type of team to let a lead like this go by the wayside. Execute Threshold. FineOK will not try to weave it through. Has he done too much, though? Damage raining in from Nehu back in base. Chronic able to grab the kill on the FineOK. Looking for Sam for Soccer, who dashes right into the dark portal. Uh-oh, Sleekness showing some signs of life.
Chronic finds himself a double kill. The Jade Dragons get a little bit overzealous with their aggression, walk into no man's land, and Sleekness still a team that can punish you for it despite
Mike's
the goal
laughing
deficit
now.
that they're There's nothing that Sleekness gets off that is the unfortunate thing. They've already lost all their tier 1, so the waves are pushed up
Shut
ridiculously.
down onto Sam.
Shutdown feels all right, but Sam's been like splitting his kills really well. He only had 3 to his name. Assists don't really add up that much for the shutdown gold. This helps. Take away some farm from the back camps. Slow down Hurrywin.
I mean, they all land on Chronic. All 3 kills are on Chronic, so there's a nice gold infusion in the solo lane. But that might have been the most even roll on the map outside of Panda Cat and Dude Man Bro. Another overextension, though. You think Panda Cat's on the right side just by his positioning. He is on the wrong side, but by Frost, we'll send him on a one-way ticket back to his tier 1 tower. So no worries for Panda Cat on this Heimdall, who's scaling up just nicely as well. Crusher into the Aussie for both of the hunters that we've got here. And it looks like Panda Cat will continue on in that tree. So, time to continue scaling up now for the Jade Dragons. There will be a Fury up in just a couple minutes' time. Pyromancer will be right around the same time there as well. And so maybe this is the opportunity, Myth, for Sleekness just to get their feet back underneath themselves. There's no neutral objectives ready outside of the Fire Giant. And so you got to take these moments as just an opportunity to finish off some of those items.
Let's take a roundup of the levels as they stand. It's 3 levels in the jungle, 3 levels in mid.
Yeah.
Supports are even, which is very impressive. Quig level 12 at this point, equivalent to his own mid laner, and there's 2 levels in the hunter role as well. So all the carries for the Jade Dragons have a significant lead. With the neutral objectives semi-desynced, the Dragons could just go straight to the Pyro, check whether or not Sleekness wants to show face. If they don't, that's a free Pyromancer, and then they could rotate over towards the Oni Fury immediately afterward. You gotta play around either Chronic or Dude Man Bro at this point, right? But no, not even Dude Man Bro. He's down an entire item.
That is so much damage from Panda Cat. Just the horn, and Dude Man Bro will have to dash away.
Uh-oh.
Sam for Soccer is here.
How's he hit those?
He took an Aegis as well. He not only took damage, but now his Aegis is missing. Who? Sam? How does Sam hit those?
That guy was invisible.
I don't know. Sam's good, man.
Game
He's
sense.
28 bans against one guy.
For good reason.
For good reason. This is what SPL teams have been avoiding playing against all year long. And 3-1-7. I mean, a fantastic KDA affecting 10 out of the 11 kills. And Hurrywin deserves some love there as well. A lot of it being set up for the Zeus. But Hurrywin has been there. His positioning in that one mid lane skirmish a few minutes ago was fantastic. And so the Zeus also a problem alongside the Mercury. Sam for Soccer and Panda Cat will just whittle down this Oni Fury together. Let's do Man Bro with the Dark Portal wants to make things interesting. Sam is low here, but the Oni Fury goes down. It'll let out a whale, but only the Jade Dragons around to here. It's a Pyromancer pull by Sleekness, PBM, Hurrywin, Final K, the 3 answers of the Jade Dragons now. But I think smart for Sleekness to back away from this one.
Yeah, Nehu is staring down the barrel of a level 13 Yamoja. Nehu takes a peek at his own levels and realizes he's 13.
Ooh.
Panda Cat in, though.
That's aggressive. If that had hit, Dude Man Bro might have been in some trouble. It's a backstep on the Dark Portal to keep the health bar nice and full for Panda Cat.
Oh my God.
Horn in. Dude Man Bro down. Panda Cat grabs the solo kill. Had a couple levels of a lead, but he'll take those every day of the week. And the purple buff to go. And now nowhere on the map working for Sleekness. You had some hope for this Izanami, maybe some hope for a Nehu steal, and it won't be there. The Jade Dragons get everything and give up nothing.
Man, just such a stylish play. The pre-channel Gallarhorn to go through the Bifrost, knocks up immediately Dude Man Bro, given no opportunity to really fight back in that engagement. Even right there, a slight bit of disrespect from the Jade Dragons. Sam for Soccer dragged the Pyromancer into Nehu's damage, said, yeah, help me out, man. Let's burn this one a little bit quicker.
Panda Cat up to a 4-0-3 start now. Fire Giant started by the Jade Dragons. Panda Cat and Sam just did the Fury on their own, and I guess we're doing the Fire Giant on our own as well. Sam for Soccer taking a little bit of damage here. Lightning Storm for Hurrywin. We'll top it all off, and the Fire Giant will be confirmed by the Jade Dragons. All 5 members, 17 minutes in, have the FG. And I do want to get a look back here, Myth, as the game gets reset just a bit at Panda Cat in that play. You don't often get to see the side steps and the sweet moves. And if that had connected, this would have been a lot less flashy of a play, I think. The back step on the Dark Portal. And then this is the big moment where Panda Cat's able to dash in and removes any question about the early laning phase and the way that went for Sleekness.
Yeah, Izanami was expected to get lane pressure. It still was incredibly impressive individual play from Dude Man Bro throughout the early laning phase, and I guess Panic Cat took that personally and decided that he was going to jam it down the lane, as has the majority of the Jade Dragons, just every single lane. This almost feels like, at risk of being a slightly disrespectful,
This game is disrespectful.
Yeah, like a 5th grader rolled up on like a 1st grader's playground and just started kicking sandcastles.
Have you
Like,
seen
that's tough.
the movie Billy Madison with Adam Sandler, where he wants to take over his dad's company, but he's got to go back and complete he never went to school because his dad was so well off.
Oh, you talking about Big Daddy?
No, this is
50
Billy
First
Madison.
Dates?
Again, Billy Madison is the name
Sandlot.
of the movie. Yep, Sandlot. He has to go back and complete every year of school because he never did. for
Oh,
his dad
yeah,
to give
yeah,
him the
yeah,
company.
yeah.
And so in like 2nd grade, they go out for recess, and Billy Madison's like a 20 or 30-something-year-old dude, and they're playing like dodgeball. And he's just beaning like 2nd graders in the face. That's what this game feels like.
A little bit.
Feels like a lopsided game of dodgeball, and we could be in the waning moments of this one here, Mifflin. Maybe one push is all the Jade Dragons need, likely for a Phoenix. Maybe for the game if the fight does not go well at all for Sleekness. A little bit of damage makes its way in on the left side. Fine OK. Walks into the base
Quick?
on right, and he is not worried about it. Rivers Rebuke keeps Quick right where he is. Nehu has been one-shot. Semper Soccer, he's got 2 kills in the back, but he's being chased on down by Chronic. The one saving grace for Sleekness is that the Nike has been strong, but the Nike and the Izanami stand alone. Left side Phoenix gone. And Mifflin, I think this Titan will go down shortly after. Dude Man Bro, he's got some autos in the back pocket, but that is just about it. Chronic will jump on through. Panic Cat left by the wayside. Hurrywin says goodbye to Chronic.
Oh!
Dude Man Bro, he says goodbye to our chances in this game. Jade Dragons rout Sleekness in game 1.
That was a convincing dub for the Jade Dragons boys. I don't think there's any other way to word that.
No, that's diplomatic by you there.
Yeah, Sleekness, I said it early on in this cast, that did not feel like a Sleekness draft to me. That didn't look
Nope.
exactly like what they are trying to run. So P's and B's can be one place to rectify the pacing in that game. You probably don't want Mercury like first blooding you on first wave. That's not exactly the greatest way to start that either. Look, something needs to change. That's the only type of analysis I can give, man. Something's got to be
You
different.
think Sleekness take a page out of the rest of the SPL's book and bans Mercury away?
You might have to.
You might have to. Game number 1, convincingly, to the Jade Dragons. Game number 2, coming up next.
But he had the horsey, and horsey, don't you stop! I don't care! I know!
I gave up dabbing for Lynn.
Cool. No more dabbing for final. He looked at me and said, I'm going to be on that stage next year. I'm going to become a world champion.
Ripping through! Titan down ball 3! A double kill myself!
last week you called me. The way you're talking is driving me insane. Hello, hello. Even if we're hanging by a thread, words you said is spinning in my head, I just wanna pull you closer in this bed, Take me back into your arms, and I'll never let you down. Let you, even if we're hanging by a thread, words you said is spinning in my head, I just wanna pull you closer in this bed, Take me back into your arms, and I'll never let you down. Let you, even if we're hanging by a thread, words you said is spinning in my head.
Hello and welcome back to the Smite World Championship qualifier round leading up to the Smite World Champions that'll be taking place January 5th through 9th now. We've added one more day in the middle of all of that. It'll be a nice little throwback Thursday that'll take place on the 6th, and we've added the showcase now instead of one day sooner. Taking a look at the schedule for the showcase. A lot of great things going on there. I think one of the things I'm honestly most excited for is going to be the slash map reveal kind of issue, because I'm going to be honest, I don't know a thing about this map. I don't know anything that's there. I haven't even gotten to see concept stuff of this map outside of what's been shown to the community. I'm very excited there. We have the Throwback Thursday. We're going to have some of the former Smite World champions in here kind of talking with us, having fun, hanging out. And then obviously the Smite World Championships happening Friday through Sunday with 2 quarterfinals, 2 semis, and the grand finals, plus all the other cool, fun stuff there. So make sure that you're tuning in January 5th through 9th for the Smite World Championships and the hi-rez showcase, and our newly added Throwback Thursday. SLEEKNESS might want to kind of take a throwback to some of their previous games where they were beating some of their SCC teams, because they're going to need to find some of that luck here up against the JADE Dragons in Game 2, because, well, I think the Billy Madison dodgeball might be probably the best analogy that I could come up with here for that game, because that was just the JADE Dragons bullying SLEEKNESS for 20 minutes.
Yeah, we're legally obligated, I think, to maybe legally is not the right term. I am obligated to talk about that game, and the Dragons are real good at Smite. That's what that one comes down to. SLEEKNESS played, contractually. There we go. I just said legally because I like using that as that's my hyperbole at home whenever Katie tells me to do something. Either way, this was just clean. I mean, you get a really good Mercury game. There were a couple of times. This is actually one we had a problem with. Back under your tower, man. Behind your tower, specifically. Go over there. You got to be a little more careful with it. Things just got out of hand super quick. This is not outrageous for the Dragons. They tend to do this to any and every team at least once throughout the year. They just have one game for some reason that gets completely out of hand. For SLEEKNESS, Mifflin had mentioned it. This didn't feel like it was really a SLEEKNESS draft that came through. They didn't really get to play it to the level that we got to see out of them the other day. And so if they just kind of hit the hard reset button, it's just game 1 and a best of 5. You got plenty of time to adapt. But adapt is the key here, right? Things are going to need to change, whether it's draft, play style. I mean, pretty much all of it is going to need to shift. Otherwise, if you're the Dragons, just run it back 2 more times like that. You're more than happy to take that and get a free trip to the finals.
I just watched Nehu evaporate. He was literally standing there, and then he wasn't at the very end of that play. Only kills SLEEKNESS were able to get were on the solo laner. Chronic comes up 3-2 and 0 during that game, but everything else was all JADE Dragons. There's no way Sam only did 6,000 to him.
there wasn't enough game for him to do more.
There's no way he only had 6,000. He did that to everybody. I mean, this man was a menace across the map. And I mean, when you want to talk about one of the epitomes of a late game hyper carry in Mercury, you farm up for 20, 25 minutes, and you come through and you start one tapping gods. He was doing that in the first 2.5 minutes of the game, Gore.
Yeah. He didn't need more than that. Because all that damage, that just converted straight to kills. Like that is the limited amount of damage the jungler needed to frag out, apparently. Like that is exactly, Zeus, there's a little bit of extra cloak, a little bit of extra fluff there for Heroine's damage numbers. Yeah, I think realistically they didn't need any more, one, but two, they didn't have time to have it go anywhere beyond, right? Like the crit, the things that you think of for a late game Mercury, good luck building that. He didn't have enough farm in order to get there. Yeah, I think this is going to be a big drawing board order for Sleekness. If you're the Dragons, I think you did a really great job. Like the E-set obviously really hurt them. The Oleron, the Odin, those top three bans really slowed them down. Add in the Morrigan a little bit later to help hurt the mid lane even harder. And you get an Agni who, like, as much as I love playing Agni, and he's in the same boat for me as Chang'e, one of my favorite kits in the game, just does not match up well against the Zeus. Feels like it didn't match up terribly well up against the Mercury. So you have to kind of figure out a lot here in the draft, whether it's just the bans that are coming your way, but also your picks into the Dragons.
I mean, picks and bans, game number 2. Something has got to change, whether Sleekness takes some earlier priority towards that mid laner. Maybe they take some shots at the Jade Dragons here. I mean, they kind of alluded to it maybe jokingly at the end of that game there, that maybe you see a Mercury ban. I think maybe you see a Zeus pick or ban here by Sleekness. There's no way that Sleekness lets the Dragons have Zeus 2 games. I mean, he was open. He was open for first pick, and they decided to go Erlong Shen. And then they just gave Hurrywin, who showed us exactly what this god can do when he's back in the meta. You just let him run on it again.
Yeah, realistically, if you want to trace that game back to the root of its problem, it is that first draft. Like, they pick Erlong Shen. That's not where the problem is. The problem started right after that when they locked in Zeus Yamoja. That's where Sleekness's game really started to go downhill and start to fly out the window, and then it only got worse from there, right? So I think that's really one of the things. I actually love that the Dragons are adapting to it, because you had mentioned with the Erlong ban, it feels like let's get this Zeus, let's grab it up, let's take it away, get Nehu something comfortable, and the Dragons just go, nah, have fun. We're not letting you do this.
And it's one of those things about being, in the pro league. You're kind of forced to adapt to playing a bunch of different gods, especially if you're a very powerful player on your team. If you have a mid laner who's dominating on 3 specific picks, we've seen teams that have taken those 3 specific picks away and kind of force you to go deeper in the god pool. And it feels like that's what the Dragons were trying to do to Sleekness here with this draft, or at least take some of those immediate essential picks out of there. But it is Sol and Odin. Going to be the first lock in here on the side of the Jade Dragons. Odin's been kind of slipping through a few of these drafts, not quite that heavy ban priority that we've seen in some of the more recent SPL sets.
And last time it was the Dragons who got rid of him, right? They were making sure Sleekness couldn't first pick it. The Sol is interesting to me, because Sol, if this were the Dragons, right, that lock it in, hands down going mid, Heroine plays it. It's his most played mid laner
for sure
in this year. But realistically, this is one that is actually fully capable, because we saw it. I mean, Duneman Bro, I like him to be on something that can really carry, really get things done. Sol kinda can do that, but not as much as what we're going to see out of a Hunter. So I still kind of want to see this air towards mid, but I think having that flexibility is actually a really good start for Sleekness already. Just being able to open up that threshold and be a little more ambiguous.
Talk about a swap up here in Gods 2. Sleekness go to Xing Chen for their most likely support role. That's where we've been seeing the Xing Chen kind of go back towards and find his new home in, considering he was kind of a solo laner for such a long period of Xing Chen's life. There weren't many players who were actually running him support. Now he's kind of found his way back to a home in the dual lane. And pair that one with an Izanami. You want to talk about a dual lane that's got clear for days and to make sure that you don't get to do anything back to him. But the Jade Dragons, their response, Amuz and Cobb. And normally I would say that screams Panda Cap, but do you see some potential with maybe Hurrywin taking that god mid?
It's one of those things. Yesterday we saw the Warriors do it. Dardes is like one of the best Hunter mid players that has played Smite, period. Like, if you're going to put a Hunter in mid, Dardes is, like, hands down the guy that you want to do it. Hurry doesn't have that same touch to me. So it's one that I wouldn't be surprised if he does pick it up. I think he's going to be more than capable of doing so. But if I had to choose AMC for Hurry or AMC for Panda, I'm giving it to Panda every single time. I think that's going to have a lot more of a flourish behind it. It's going to have a lot more carry potential. I'm not sure. Like, I mean, the matchup versus Izanami, he's going to be able to hit harder, although she hits more often. So there's, like, some different trades right there. But you also have to factor in how you have a Yamoja beside you, and it just makes things nice. I think Panda Cat's going to be able to have some fun.
Well, with that Izanami, actually, it does reveal that the Soul will be going over towards the mid lane. So we know we at least have the 2 carries for Sleekness locked in, then with the Xing Chen as their front line. So immediately the Jade Dragons can start going towards some jungle bans here. They take the Da Ji, and Sleekness ban the Morrigan away. But again, trying to go for a lot of these mid-lane bans up against Hurrywin. I mean, you took the Soul away from him. They took the Zeus away from Sleekness here, that being the Jade Dragons. They banned the Zeus. We've seen him go Zhang Kui. We always know that he's got a Giannis in his back pocket. And the fact that there's also no Mercury ban after what Mercury did to them in the second phase here, Sam just gets to run it back again.
Yeah, so what I'd have to do the math off the top of my head, but his win rate is only going up. Now it's technically 82%, right? So he gets a 2% bump from that last win. I guess if it goes up one more, probably another 2%, maybe 3. It goes up to around 85. Yeah, he's just good at this pick, and now you're opening it up. Because, I mean, look at it. Like, Soul Disapparate is going to be your best bet for dodging damage, and that takes way too long to get away from a Mercury. Izanami has a dash. The best thing going for them right now is the fact that Xing Chen, and specifically the Furious Roar, does help alleviate basic attack damage. So against an Amus and Cobb, against a Mercury, if you can hit them, if they're standing next to each other, Dragons are doing something wrong. But if you can hit them both, then you are going to be able to stifle their damage. Then you start thinking, at this point, maybe attack speed, like Witchblade, Horrific Emblems. I'm starting to look towards Shells, maybe Nemeans, like anything that can stifle the amount of damage coming out of the Dragons, that's what I'm going for.
Well, with this Zhang Kui lock-in, we now know that Samuzakab is going to be going over to Panda Cat in the dual lane. Osiris and Susano, the final 2 picks here for Sleekness before they jump into game number 2. Oath going on. This Susano, we've seen some success out of it in the past. Oath has been kind of flexing through the jungle god pool in the last couple of sets that he's played up in the circuit playoffs that happened just before Phase 3 of the SPL. How do you kind of like the Susano rounding up here? You're going up against Zhang Kui and Mercury essentially in that 2v2 as Susano Soul.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's one of those things. I think like Soul is going to have some good follow-up damage, and Susano should, but like Mercury is maybe the most susceptible early on to this, and if they can lock him down, but he's still got good survivability and good escape. Zhang Kui is just difficult to get through. He's got a much heavier health bar in mid than a lot of the mages that I think Susano would be a great matchup into. I don't think they're necessarily going to struggle. I think they actually have the early game advantage with the 2 Susano Soul, but I don't know that it's going to turn into this masterful amount of kills and farm for them. I think it's really just going to make sure that the Dragons have to slow down their game and kind of keep them in check so that we don't get out of hand as quickly as Game 1 did.
Yeah, I mean, Game 1 was essentially from minute 1, Sam runs into dual lane, gets a kill, eventually turns it into a double after he hits, level 5 and Sonic booms right through the tower. Does Sleekness have a draft to really kind of slow the Dragons down and kind of force them to play at a lower pace?
Yes, but, and this is where things get a little, they can slow them down. I don't like having to fight the Dragons in a late game with their composition. Like, you slow them down, and yes, that maybe helps you out in the early game, but I don't want to go 22 minutes when there's an AMC, a Mercury, and a Yamoja on the other side. It feels very dangerous. Odin coming into that factor. I think if this gets to late game team fights, the Dragons are really going to be able to pick apart Sleekness pretty easily, but if they can get themselves the advantage early on, which their composition is going to be good to do, I think that they're going to be able to at least capitalize on that, right? Go for the neutral objectives, extend that lead, and even then it's going to be offset a little bit by this Dragons composition. So they have to play carefully, they have to play smart, and they have to do it pretty much from minute 0. If the Dragons start to pull ahead, this composition will absolutely tear you apart.
I mean, we talked a lot about it kind of in the pre-game going into game number 1, the highs and lows of both of these teams. The 2 highs can potentially be pretty close there. We'll have to see if that high point can hit here for Sleekness in game number 2. Let's take it right in and delay no further.
Sleekness needs to have taken a big, deep breath after game number 1 because they did not have a singular moment to do so in game 1. JADE Dragons, Smith, they get some of the same utility that brought them the lead in game number 1, and it is Sanford Soccer on the Mercury yet again. Polar Bear Mike on the Emoja definitely played a big role. All of the other pieces outside of that, though, shifted up a little bit. Talk to me about maybe the mentality behind letting this Mercury through again, though, Miff. I mean, is this we feel as if our play maybe messed up, and that's what gave Sanford Soccer this advantage, and we know how to play against it better this time? Or are we looking at a disrespect allowing the Mercury through again?
Look, Mercury, I don't think is in a current state where you have to ban him out. Maybe Sanford Soccer's is a different story.
Specifically
but
Sam.
The JADE Dragons, holistically, every single lane, barring duo lane, kind of got off to a wild start. So I think that Sleekness can lay the majority of game 1 at the feet of that. They don't have to say, well, Sanford Soccer just did it on his own. We misplayed around level 1, and our mid laner got first blooded, and from there it kind of snowballed. So I don't think that now is the time to be panic banning the Mercury. I'm fine with Sleekness waiting one more.
Well, Sanford Soccer is back in the mid lane. Nehu is as well. Only a little bit of damage, and so Nehu will not fall for first blood this time around. Oath is here. And he is on the Susano. What a fun matchup this is going to be in the jungle. Both of them feeling like Sanford Soccer-esque picks that we've seen in the SPL throughout the year so far. Sam takes a hell of a lot of damage on that walk-in and walk-out. But no surprise here in the mid 2v2. So I'm intrigued, Miff, if we're going to get some of these 1v1 sort of fun brawls as this game goes on throughout the jungle.
I'm expecting it, especially considering the damage output that we just saw from Sleekness through the mid lane. Playing with fire here. I don't know when I'm allowed to talk.
Right, you're like slightly hesitant. I don't know if we're going in.
Good lord!
So much damage. But Panicat and Mike, they don't have the follow-up just yet. Does Mike have enough? Oh, got the stun. Hit the auto. Mike does. First blood, JADE Dragons. And it felt like just a matter of time.
Why is Dude Man Bro standing his ground, bro? You're not winning that trade. Both Panicat and PBM were at around 50% HP. Quig and Dude Man Bro hovering around that 10% mark. And he just stands there. He took the fight, maybe relying on that death toll to keep him sustained up. What is completely wild, though, is that Quig still has meditation. He could have probably used that and saved his homie.
Yeah, maybe. All right, so for next engage,
we're medic.
Still there, right. Might need it here. Sleekness sends Oath over to the left side of the map. There's going to be an engage. There's an engage over on the right as well. As a dive happens in the solo lane, it's a pull back in by Oath, and Oath returns the favor as the JADE Dragons Hunter goes down. Maybe some of the downfall of the AMC, slightly immobile, especially when it can be overextended, and Oath finds himself an easy kill.
Yeah, good rotation from Oath to punish that AMC early on, especially considering purple buff has spawned up. We'll see if PBM can put up a defense here. It's a long shot, to be sure.
It's dropped down by Sleekness. Can Mike buy enough time here, though? Quig is low. Mike has no Omi. So I think the Xing Chen will be just fine. So both junglers have shown some face. Only one of them has hit pay dirt, and that's Oath, who's grabbed a kill early on here for Sleekness. And so now maybe, Miff, you start to talk about the power curve of this Susano. As it looks like Mike does steal away that purple buff, which feels nice. You lose one, you take away the other. But this is now a good opportunity. Oath just had no chance in game 1 right on the Erlang Shen. Now he's got an early kill. None of his lanes are getting decimated. Solo lane especially not. FineOK ganked. And Oath has got another. And suddenly the Sleekness jungler showing up in this best of 5.
Man, FineOK was probably about 2 minions away from ticking over towards level 5. Not sure that would have really saved him in that situation. Could have likely kept Oath slightly further away. Maybe he would have got his jump off as well. But great clear from Chronic. Good awareness from Oath to realize that opportunity was there. And yet another gank works out for the Sleekness jungler. Now 2-0. But despite having a successful gank in the duo lane, Panicat is either even or slightly ahead in experience. He ticks over to 4 first.
Oh, they're going to do it again. Panicat has no beads. Quick does not have his ultimate, so that's a small win for the JADE Dragons. He's pulled back in, and Oath is on a killing spree. 3-kill streak for Sleekness and their jungler. And the JADE Dragons, I don't even know if you can call that one overextended. They're just hanging out in the middle of the lane. But there was no vision on the Susano, and Oath walks in and punishes the beads that were still on cooldown.
Man, this set's starting to feel like the battle of the junglers, right? Game 1, it's Sanford Soccer getting every gank working out for him, controlling the entirety of the map. Now in Game 2, it's Oath on the other side, who's got 100% kill participation and acquisition for his team. And you can already see it reflected on the board. Chronic now getting a much better engagement over in the solo lane. Final K can't really fight against this Osiris, not for a little while.
I mean, it's the exact opposite of what Game 1 was, where Sanford Soccer had this nice big lead, and every other lane on the map for the Jade Dragons felt like they were at least a level ahead. That's exactly the case here for Sleekness. It was solo lane feels fine, jungle's ahead, mid lane even, where we haven't seen much of anything. Nehu has a 1-level lead. Quig is a level ahead of PBM, so the Jade Dragons on the back foot just a bit here. Gold-wise, only 400 or 500, so not out of control just yet, as Dude Man Bro sends the Dark Portal in to steal away the purple buff. Panda Cat has not been able to secure many of those under the pressure of Sleekness so far here this game. And I do want to talk about this mid lane a bit here, Myth, because the Zhang Kui is not something we get to see very often, if at all. Wait, he might just do it again. He did. He stole away another.
Oh, man.
All right, so we've gone even on purple buffs. Dude Man Bro and Quig steal one. Mike walks in, steals the other. And mid lane, hey, it's an apt place to start because Hurrywind's received a gank, and Hurrywind has received a kill. And now this Zhang Kui, which we haven't seen much of this year, a little bit, not much, off to a good start.
Yeah, I was expecting Hurrywin to go for the Book of the Dead style of build. You'd think that health shield on a frontline style of mage would make a lot of sense, but instead it's a Divine Ruin early on, dealing with some of that self-sustain that Nehu's got from Soul, as well as that Pythags piece in the first lot. Unorthodox builds across the board here as Quig takes a lot of damage, but that should spell the end of this engagement. Even looking at PBM, that's a Stone of Gaia in the first slot. A lot of knockups, a lot of knockbacks and pulls on the side of Sleekness. So the passive should be helping out a good deal there for the support of the Jade Dragons. I'm excited to see how these itemizations really start to pan out going forward.
Do you feel like you're giving up a lot, though, Stone of Gaia, instead of something more traditional like the Thieves?
All your defense. You don't have any.
Fair
Legitimately zero.
You got health, right?
A lot of it. And HP 5. It's effective defense. You're
Right.
healing a lot. You're going to get that passive value. But you're not giving your team a defense, or you yourself aren't going to be taking up objectives nearly as well.
Right.
But I don't think that's really the plan for the Jade Dragons right now. It's more so, let's take some fights, let's utilize our sustain, and see if we can slow down what Sleekness is doing.
Well, Mike is just a buff steel bot at this point, and he's been able to do that pretty successfully. There's a good look at some of the damage that he'll take as Nehu got a decent item to start off. You've already mentioned the Pythags piece there for the Sleekness mid laner. So Oath off to a 3-0 start here, Myth. Things slowing down in the same way that they kind of did for the Jade Dragons. There was a bit of a lull before the objectives really started to feel comfortable. Maybe the left side of the map is where you start to look. There had been a little level lead for Dude Man Bro and Quig, but now that's kind of gone by the wayside. And the gold lead, maybe more importantly, Myth, has not gotten out of control one way or another. The Jade Dragon's still very relevant around these objectives. Stun not connecting from PBM, and he will Riptide on away.
Yeah, Quig trying to find something in the middle of the map. Maybe looking to burn away those beads from Hurrywin, but with nobody nearby. Sleekness support realizes that even in using his ultimate, there really wouldn't be enough threat to burn away those relics. Seems like right now, both teams are just waiting for that floodgate to open. I'm keeping my eye on Sanford Soccer. We haven't really seen him go for an aggressive Sonic Boom just yet.
Nope.
And I'm keeping my eyes on Oath, because the second either one of these guys hits pay dirt, Gold Fury has spawned up.
Nehu has no beads for literally 10 seconds. And so if Sanford Soccer can make this work in the next, now 5 seconds.
He's looking.
He was looking, but the positioning just did not work out. Small window. Would have been coincidental maybe at best if you ult in when Nehu was like 2 seconds away from his beads, but the Soul was able to get the defensive relic back online. Sanford Soccer was looking, but ends up coming up empty-handed. So Gold Fury Myth is something I mentioned a moment ago prior to the supports kind of passing by one another there in the mid lane. You start to wonder about objective shred and objective secure potential. Of course, Oath, the most attractive KDA in the game right now at 3-0. Is that enough, though, to give Sleekness the confidence to pull an early Gold Fury, or do you need to see a little bit more?
I need to see a pick. You get a singular pick on the side of Sleekness, then you can utilize this double hunter composition, one magical, one physical, to blow up these objectives. Oath himself also has got likely one of the best confirmation ultimates in the game right now, or this game, not the whole of Smite. The ultimate from Susano should be pretty decent secure on this Gold Fury. I don't think there's much that the Jade Dragons can toss out insofar as a coin toss situation.
Right.
So expect Sleekness to try and play around the duo, or maybe you're going to see the Jade Dragons there first.
PBM around behind Dude Man Bro, who will dash away just fine. And so we've seen a little bit around this AMC Myth, but it's largely been punishing the immobility of Panda Cat up to this point. Oath 2 of his 3 kills have been just walking at PandaCat, whose beads were down since early on in this lane. In AMC, like mid maybe is something we've seen a little bit of. PandaCat, I'm racking my brain. I don't know, Cyclone Spin has maybe played the AMC in the duo lane a little bit. But PandaCat showed early that there was good chunk potential. Sanford Soccer, this is the old-fashioned Mercury gank on the left side of the map. Dude Man Bro thought he was alone, but it's anything but. PandaCat gets a kill on board. Quig sent by the wayside. Oath is here. That's the killing spree. Susano, who's over in the dual lane. He will pull Sanford Soccer right back into his grasp. The Jade Dragons, they'll snag 2 kills. Rivers Rebuke no good. But Oath will use the beads, and he will walk out with an extra kill.
Man, the timing of those beads were so strong. If you were even a microsecond late, you're getting pulled in every single time. Mike unsuccessful in stealing away yet another purple buff. Oath able to secure that one for himself and puts his 4th kill on the board. But that fight goes the way of the Jade Dragons. Make no mistake.
Polar Bear Mike, I mean, I'm looking at the mini-map, wondering what he's looking at here. Maybe just being annoying,
Yikes.
as the pull won't be there. And Mike will dash right on away, receive some of that extra healing from the Stone of Gaia. And so we are continuing to play around Oath as you should. It's the left side of the map that has gotten basically everything outside of when Chronic received a gank from Oath early in this game. The solo lane has remained quiet, a 1-level lead for Chronic. But wherever Oath goes, killing seems to happen. The good news is for the Jade Dragons, Myth, is that PandaCat, who had been largely shut down, grabs a kill and a 1-level lead over Dude Man Bro, who had received a lot of help from Oath early on in this game. And so the AMC now hits a decent power spike. You get the Crusher, you get the Aussie online. Maybe now that side of the map feeling a bit more comfortable for the Dragons.
Yeah, in the 1v1 now, PandaCat is going to have a massive advantage. I don't think Dude Man Bro wants to take this fight. 2 levels, pretty nice. The burst potential that AMC has as well, very strong. Dude Man Bro has not finished up his Aussie just yet either, so Sustain going to favor the Jade Dragons Hunter, which is why we see this. This is something we saw in Game 1 as well. Quig does not like leaving this lane, and his presence here is going to drag Mike over as well.
And Mike continuing with some of the unconvention, I don't know if that's the word, but weirdness maybe in his build. Stone of Gaia into a Witchblade. And so an interesting build path to say the absolute least. Attack speed reduced. And so Mike looking maybe for more just healing and utility right now outside of full-on prots.
Yeah, and you're getting a little bit more of an HP stack as well, so Stone of Gaia's passive going to get a little bit more value. It's a double Hunter composition from Sleekness, so the attack speed strip going to be very nice, especially considering the positioning Mike has been taking in all these fights. He's W King, and if he's close by, all of a sudden everybody on Sleekness is going to be a little bit weaker.
You can feel a little tension building up on the left side of the map here as Sleekness poked their heads on the Jade Dragon side of the jungle, now trying to disengage. That's a good dodge from Nehu, but the Aegis is out to avoid. Not much.
That's
the damage
crazy.
is delayed, but delayed is it. Sanford Soccer soloed by Oath, who was on a rampage. The Susano continues to be the saving grace for this Sleekness team here. Typhoon is out, and that'll knock up Hurrywind on the back end, but there is no ultimate for the Zhang Kui. There are beads, but there's a Whirlwind, a Rage, and Steel, and there's a pullback in by Oath, but they have not finished off the kill. Hurrywind walking on away from this fight. Mike doing the best that he can to sustain up his mid laner, but Hurrywind will go down for the 6th kill of the game for Oath. Final K out of the solo lane.
Rotates in, finds the blink, trying to chase Oath over the wall. Just needs to close that gap slightly.
Ooh.
Good slow. Burns the beads, and PBM gets credit for the kill. That's the Jade Dragon saying, it's time. We're going to press W key, and hopefully we went out on the engagement. A fantastic play from Oath. Cuts off Sanford Soccer's rotation into the jungle, but it's fine okay. Getting to the more important objective earlier than Chronic, and now it's the Jade Dragons pulling the gold.
What can Quig get done here on the Gold Fury? This is a pivotal moment in the game. At least delaying it keeps things interesting for Sleekness, because as good of a start as Sleekness has had, the gold lead 1,000 for the Jade Dragons. XP lead almost 1,000 for the Jade Dragons. So where Oath has been doing everything, the Jade Dragons have still been able to pull themselves a slight lead in both gold and experience. And so maybe Myth stalling out that Gold Fury, exactly what Sleekness needed there. That's a nice big power spike for the Jade Dragons if they're able to confirm that objective. And Oath getting shut down by Mike doesn't feel the best for the Jade Dragons, but getting that shut down anyway is always going to be fantastic. PBM on the Emoja. He's off to a killing spree as well.
Yeah, PBM's fed. I mean, he's fed. He's going to have a lot of survivability. Moving in towards that Spirit Robe tree, likely going to be the Mantle of Discord as well. So now all of a sudden he's going to be not only a great utility tool for his team with that Witchblade, but his survivability is going to go through the roof as well. Shell, as that second relic selection, means that his team is going to be able to just continue doing what they've been trying to do, which is jam down that W key. Remember how that fight started? It was PBM and Hurrywin sauntering through Sleekness's jungle saying, if we close gap, somebody's going to die. And unfortunately for Sleekness, it was Nehu.
There was a lot of sustain. Hurrywin refused to go down quietly in that last engagement. There's some sustain as well. Double ultimate from Quig. Doesn't get anything outside of looking cool as PBM and Hurrywin sent off to the side. And so no problem there. Hurrywin spends his ult, but a big engage tool now missing from Sleekness as the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel goes back onto cooldown for just a little bit more time. It's a grouping now from the Jade Dragons in mid. All eyes on this tier 1 tower. Nehu slightly low on health, pretty low on mana, does not have his Aegis for 15 seconds. And Sleekness will sacrifice their mid tier 1 with no pushback.
Mid tier 1 gone, duo tier 1 gone. Chronic might follow pretty shortly, burning pretty fast. Yeah, he's gone.
Lord of the Afterlife up and over the wall. He is gone from the fight. We're not wrong, Miff. We just are right in a different way unless PBM.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah.
We'll find the kill on the Chronic anyway. That's a 401 Yamoja now as Final K cages off Sleekness. Two of them caught in the arena with Final K here, but Final K walks out without doing much damage. River's Rebuke separates everything as Sleekness are on either sides of the waves, and Final K will lock down Nehu, and the Jade Dragons starting to roll through these fights. Oath has already died once this game. A second might be around the corner. Panicat uses his beads to avoid the Typhoon, and Quig provides the last bit of peel.
Quig might have had to sacrifice himself here. Good stun from Fine. Okay, here's the follow-up. Hey, remember that ultimate? All it did was look cool, but this time it's going to give you some CC immunity.
That's a fantastic Riptide from Polar Bear Mike. This is taking a little while, but the result is going to be the same, which is Quig going down. It was only a matter of who. And it's Fine OK, who's resurged back in this solo lane. Remember, that's where some pressure went from Sleekness early, kept Fine OK at bay. But Destiny arrives all the same. Fire Giant pulled by the Jade Dragons. Is this earlier than the FG was
exactly
in game
1 minute earlier.
Is this somehow faster? You're telling me Oath got off to a 6-0 start and the Jade Dragons are doing a faster Fire Giant than they were in game 1? That's unbelievable.
Oh, Chronic?
This team, so hard to stop. You got to sow some intrigue. But the intrigue dies with the Fire Giant. The Jade Dragons get it on all 5.
Man, Sleekness is playing very well around their jungler. The Oath is having a very good game. Nobody else is.
Yeah.
Nobody else on Sleekness is having a good game.
Nobody else kills them.
No, yeah, they're getting blanked. Thankfully, Oath is on this team. Jade Dragons, it felt like they were playing with their food a little bit earlier on. It was a lot of over-aggressive plays. It was a lot of taking 1v2s or just fights in the Sleekness side of the map, and slowly throughout the first 15 or so minutes, Jade Dragons were able to accrue a lead just through macro play. The mid camps have largely been going their way. If you keep your eyes on Sanford Soccer's pathing throughout the entirety of this game, he's been controlling the Scorpions very well, which is a nice bit of global gold for the squad. And the Jade Dragons, once they did establish that lead, we saw it like a switch was flipped. They said, time to W key, time to run it down, and that's exactly what their draft is suited for. We'll see how good it looks on the Siege, because I'd argue that Sleekness have got pretty strong Siege defense. Great CC, good AoE damage, decent ability to keep the waves out of these towers as well. But it's hard to argue against a 18-minute Fire Giant.
Yeah, are we defending this tier 2 tower? This might be the last thing you do if Sleekness lose this fight handedly. Polar Bear Mike, he's been a menace from minute 1 this game. 403 on the Yamoja now. Only member of the Jade Dragons on a killing spree. And Polar Bear Mike building into a little bit of damage late on in this Yamoja build that has been intriguing, but it has been working out. When you're playing like this, Polar Bear Mike can seemingly do no wrong. The tier 2 tower will start to crumble down. Oath does some good damage to Fino K, who's separating out this engagement. And Mike and Fino, as 2 members against 5, just buy enough space for the Jade Dragons to walk down the tower.
Yeah, nobody's going to kill either Mike or Fino K right now, especially together. The healing is too much. The sustain from Fire and Stone Gaia means that Mike can do no wrong. Even if he gets dropped down to half HP, he probably fully resustains it in under 20 seconds. So now the Jade Dragons with an early Fire Giant Siege to say, hey, there's no reason to go for a Phoenix. We're only 19 minutes in. Let's go ahead and clear out all of these towers and pick up as much gold as possible.
Quig goes in and heads on out with only 1 toss.
Great cage.
Okay, tossed right back into perfect cage distance to the rest of Sleekness. Typhoon flies through, but it's only disengaged. The Jade Dragons now walking on board as the tier 2 tower does crumble. Fine, okay. Has to use the bead. Sanford Soccer and Oath, they're dueling it out over here on the left. Haven't seen much from the Mercury this game. We have seen plenty from the Susano, but will we see any more in this fight? Fine, okay would like to say no, but the beads get used. And Susano walks out just fine. 2 tier 2 towers down, and the Fire Giant impactful so far for the Jade Dragons.
Take a peek at the relics used by Sleekness. They don't have much left in the tank. Beads on Nehu and Dude Man Bro are maintained, and the Blink on Chronic. Whereas on the other side, the Jade Dragons have got to hold on to a lot of their beads. All of their priority targets still have it. Mike as well, so he can act as that initiator for his squad. Worth noting, there's a little bit of anti-crit on the side of Sleekness. They're worried about Sanford Soccer.
2 Spectrals against just the 1 Rage. And Sanford Soccer doesn't have any kills yet. He's got plenty of assists, so we'll get that Rage stacking up in no time. Quig, it's kind of melted through here by Pandacat and the rest of the Jade Dragons. 1 more tier 2 tower remains. There's 30 seconds left on the Fire Giant for the Jade Dragons. Normally it's like right now where you're securing the first FG, then you get the tier 2 towers down, and then you go back when it's done, and you end the game from there. Same timeline, everything's just shifted up a little bit forward. This has now got to be aggravating for Sleekness. You know, far from out of this set, but if this result holds, if the Jade Dragons secure game 2 here, you know, game 1, we're talking about the Jade Dragons and how they just kind of roll over Sleekness in the early game, and Sleekness just couldn't keep up. Sleekness kind of rolled over the Jade Dragons. Oath kind of rolled over the Jade Dragons in the early game, and that didn't work out either. You got to find something else that works if the Jade Dragons were able to lock down the win here in Game 2.
Well, you found out that the Susano works, right? Oath can, you know, happily mount that one over his bed, just put it in a picture frame, this KDA.
Yeah.
But you got to have everybody else on the team. Do
you got to
at
crop
least a
out
little
the
bit.
loss up at the top of the screen, right?
When he saves the post-game stats, it's just going to be his
right,
name that he
only
saves.
his KDA. Right.
Because 0-3, 0-2, 0-2, 0-1.
Right.
That's what he's surrounded by.
Right, and I guess that's the idea, right? Is Oath it did so well in the early game, and what did it buy outside of a great KDA on the Susano? The Jade Dragons.
You got my respect.
And that's worth its weight in gold. You know, Myth does not give out respect easily, and so
How
Oath
do you
at
weigh
least
that?
has respect. Depends how much respect you're given. Or
A
you are
lot.
giving.
These are the Jade Dragons. He's 6-1.
Right, quantify that though. Spread your arm. You know, spread your arms. You know, close.
I give it like a hoagie.
Yeah,
Like,
see,
it's about
chat,
hoagie
you can't see it, but his arms are pretty far apart right now. That's a lot. A hoagie's worth of gold is actually a lot
Wow,
of money
that's a
here.
lot of money.
Maybe one more team fight here in this game as the Jade Dragons have regained control despite an onslaught from the Susano. Chronic walks forward, takes a good bit of damage as Quig walks in as well. There's a whirlwind of Rage and Steel waiting around the back corner, but Fido K yet again finds 3 in the cage, and it's a sonic boom right down the middle from Sanford Soccer that has separated out this fight. Sam goes back to pick up the scraps, and it's Quig who will die first and foremost in this fight. The Jade Dragons resurging together. Typhoon flies through, only knocks up 1, and the call is go back for the FG.
Yeah, the Jade Dragons, they're just so much more succinct in these team fights. The shot calling, the target selection is superior. What happened in that fight? Sleekness step up to take their eyes and just peek at the Fire Giant, and they immediately get separated. Quig, surrounded by 5 members on his own in the back line of the Jade Dragons, looking around like Travolta. Where's my team? I don't know. And then he falls down. Nehu tried to step back up and peel for his homie. He dies for it. Seems like this is a squad, Sleekness that is all for 1 and 1 for 1 as well.
Yeah, All for One's the bad guy, right? And my hero. So we're sad about All for One right now. Sleekness needs some of that power, though. He's strong nonetheless. Oath is as well. Right side, Phoenix weak and dead as the Jade Dragons walk forward and secure the objective there. Now we're starting, you know, at least in some of these games, you know, maybe there's a silver lining. You get off to a great start. The Jade Dragons, maybe you consider like their mid-game power spike is great. That's why they're starting to do well. It's not like the Jade Dragons get worse over time.
No, that's a really good late game team
I mean, they
comp.
got a fantastic late game team comp, and so it's just going to require an outplay from Sleekness at this point to get back into the game. That is hard to come by when you're playing against the Jade Dragons, a refocused Jade Dragons. This is our first look at this team since bowing out of the Phase 3 playoffs. So we wondered how they would show up. Going into this weekend, you can't take Sleekness lightly. You don't know what types of strategies they're going to be bringing to this event. And the Jade Dragons seem to have all the answers outside of giving 6 kills to Oath. And you know what, Myth? Knowing these guys, Knowing the Jade Dragons, they're probably mad that the early game went the way it did. I can't believe we gave 6 kills to this Susano. And so something to work towards in Game 3, maybe cleaning
We're
up
gonna
their
blank them in Game 3. Ugh. You think Kabam's in the background, the coach for the Jade Dragons, just getting real riled up because Oath's looking good?
No, because it's Kabam, and I love that guy.
And
but
I've never seen him riled.
I've never seen him riled.
Not once.
Maybe he's like face palming a little bit when Oath gets his 6th kill of the game, but like
For real, guys, 6?
right,
All
right.
6
That's
on Oath?
exactly it. He walks into the room and says, "Guys, really? We gave up 6? That's how Kabam handles."
He sets down his 20 pages of notes, laminated, by the way, double-sided, and he says, look, I didn't make all these team comps for you to drop 6 kills to Oath in 5 minutes. Look, I'm just having a little bit of fun, Dave. Look, the Jade Dragons have very clearly got a firm grasp on this game. Right side Phoenix removed, enhanced minion waves already working their way through the lanes, Fire Giant on all 5 members, the second Fire Giant of the game. We're 25 minutes in, by the way.
If you're allowed to have fun, I just thought you were going to keep talking about Kabam, so I was giving it space for a second. No, all we're doing now is buying time for the Jade Dragons to regroup and push down one of these Phoenix. We have seen crazier things happen.
The defense is still
Right?
good.
We've
for
seen
Sleekness.
crazier things happen. You know, it's a 10K gold lead. One Phoenix is already gone. There are only fire minions down the right side of the map. That's something you have to worry about if you're Sleekness. You want everyone here against the Jade Dragons, much less somebody who has to go over to the right and deal with the Oni fire minions that'll be pushing down onto your Titan here shortly. One more wave from the Sleekness base. We'll delay those. That might be the same mindset here from the Jade Dragons. The waves finally work in left and in mid, and that's usually when you see these teams start to fight. Left side Phoenix taken down low, half HP remaining on the bird. The Jade Dragons as 4 will back on away. You got Oath in mid here, Myth, but Final K's doing a fantastic job of separating.
Yeah, Final K says, hey, Oath's the issue. Let's just make sure he's not in the fight. The most important member of your team forced to defend the base against enhanced minion waves. So the Jade Dragons take out that left side Phoenix absolutely for free.
Yeah, the Jade Dragons just bought their time. We knew the Oni fire minions were coming. Sleekness did as well. They were hoping that maybe there'd be a misstep before that. But that is pure patience from the Jade Dragons. And this gold lead is near insurmountable. Goodbye, Nehu. For the 5th time this game, you got as many deaths as Oath had a killing spree early on. Chronic, he falls to Final K, and the Jade Dragons, one by one, working through the Sleekness composition. You're going to have fire minions here shortly. And you're just trying to clean up some of these picks, end this game easily. The Jade Dragons, they're able to shrug off an early deficit. They're able to take Game 2 and send us on to a Game 3 up 2-0.
Well, I'm going to run back the analysis I dropped at the end of Game 1. Something's got to change. But this time, not everything. You can keep Oath on the Susano.
Your jungler can't get 6 kills.
Yeah, the jungler, you got to spread those kills out, Oath. Your team needs some of that farm. I don't know, man. The Jade Dragons, they're just doing it to them.
Yeah, Mike was maybe the most fed person on the Jade Dragons, and
for a long time
still was walking down members of Sleekness. I don't know, man. I said refocus Jade Dragons. That's a scary team to go up against. Refocused and confident is like one step up from that. Jade Dragons, and we need one more. Sleekness, you got to win 3 straight against a near unstoppable looking Jade Dragons. Game number 3, right after this.
little bit more fight out of Sleekness here in game number 2, but at the end of the day, it is the Dragons who come up with a victory. If you want to support the Dragons or any of your favorite teams, or just the SPL in general, you can go over to shop.smiteproleague.com and pick yourself up a t-shirt, a hoodie, a beanie, jacket. I mean, there's all kinds of things out there at the Smite Pro League website.
And based on conversations with Mifflin, very distinct differences here between hoodies, jackets, zip-up hoodies that don't exist. Apparently, those are jackets.
That's just a jacket. So yeah, if it has apparently if it has a zipper or buttons, it's a jacket. If it doesn't, then it's a hoodie. You can have that argument all you want. I know we already had a full lengthy discussion in the green room about that. But go to shop.smiteproleague.com to get your hoodies and or jackets or anything else that's out there available to you. JADE Dragons, another win out of them. Sleekness, more kills out of them. Unfortunately, they all go on
fight,
to a little more fight. And unfortunately, all those kills go on to Oath and no one else. Sleekness are only able to come up with 6 kills, but again, only on their jungler.
Yeah, so I'm going to quote, well, maybe not quote exactly. I'm going to paraphrase what Mifflin had said at the end of the cast, which is very simply, hey, a lot of stuff still needs to change, but not everything this time, right? Oath did great. And so from game 1 to game 2, you've got one positive change. So now from game 2 to game 3, I'd like to see a little bit more than one positive change, but it's a good trend technically here for Sleekness. The problem is, again, you just go for a draft that, while it feels like it's going to be solid in and of itself, and Oath gets a good couple of kills, Yamoja is one of the best picks for PBM. Panda Cat's nuts at AMC. You've got Zhang Kui, which actually they were able to capitalize against a couple of times, and Odin. Well, Finoke is just good in the solo lane, and realistically, that was something that did well, but wasn't necessarily the standout end-all be-all for me. The things that really, really were riding things home are were the same in game 1 and game 2. It's this Mercury and this Yamoja that are doing too much. I mean, Mike was like 4-0-1 at point one.
Right here,
yeah,
actually,
at some point, right after this.
Right there.
So you can't let that happen is the best way to describe it. You got to be able to deal with the support, and I think Yamoja is on the chopping block now.
Yeah, I think Yamoja, Mercury, if he doesn't get picked in the first 3, is probably one that you can maybe look to ban, because Sam's now on a hot streak. Him and Mike are on hot streaks with these gods. There's no way that you let them get them both again unless they get picked in top 3, but I cannot imagine Yamoja makes it past the first 3 bans.
So it is this awkward position where, Sleekness, they've been banning Kamazotz, Erlong, Kleena. Before that, it was Ganesh instead of the Erlong Shen. I would drop Kleena probably into the mix. I know Sam's going to be a threat on her as well, but he's already been a threat on Mercury, so that's something that you could maybe swap out. But definitely you have to drop something there, probably the Erlong Shen, in favor of the Yamoja, or at least you have to imagine that you do. I can't think of many scenarios, except for maybe if they end up swapping over. Like, if you're first pick here and you are Sleekness, you need to be a lot more cautious about what you are letting the Dragons pick up, but knowing that you're going to be able to get 2 if you're second pick might open up a little bit more allowance for them, right? To be a little more open with it. But like, you first pick Erlong Shen, it didn't really do anything. You first pick Soul, that didn't really do anything. You've definitely got to readjust the way you're attacking picks and bans.
I mean, here's the problem that I see when you get to Sleekness here, if they're first pick or if they're second pick. If they're first pick, the Dragons aren't going to let them have Zeus. The Dragons, they're going to want to have Zeus themselves. It looks like Sleekness is the name behind you, so that could allude to them being the second pick here, and they will be second pick. So with that being said, the Dragons' first pick, they have a lot that they can grab. They can insta-grab the Mercury if they want. They can go for the Yamoja. They can go for the Zeus. Sleekness now has to kind of make that decision, I'd imagine, here, of they need to ban the Yamoja and or the Zeus, probably both, because if they leave one open, surely the Dragons just take the other one.
Well, they won my heart already because they've taken one positive step in the right direction. They took Mike away from Yamoja, and that makes that duo lane so much more manageable now. Hey, and you know what? There's 2 steps in the right direction because they took away Zeus from Hurwind. They've managed 2/3 of the real problem in this core 3v3. And the glory is, you don't have to ban Mercury here because it's not been picked up in the top 3. I like the fact that they go for a more highly executed, or high prioritized assassin, because in those bottom 2, last time around they banned Morgan, they banned Hell. Just ignore those. Definitely ban at least Mercury in your bottom 2 here, I think, if you're Sleekness, depending on the rest of the draft. It might not slot in well to what the Dragons have, and you might have to work around that.
Similar bans for the Dragons, though. It is the Eset and the Olarun, so taking a shot in the dual lane, Erlung Shen, and then as we talked about, the Kleena, Zeus, and Yamoja from Sleekness to answer 2/3 of the main problem. Camazot's locked in here, and we've been seeing a lot more of Camazot's going towards the solo lane as of recent. I mean, Yarkor played it the other day. We saw it in some of the solo lane matchups before we even got here to this SWC qualifier rounds. So this Camazot's is the first pick. This doesn't immediately spell to me that this is going as a Sam pick here.
And that's the glory of a Camazot's first pick. The downside is, and this is actually specifically for this event so far, so Camazot's has 7 first picks, 10 games so far, and he's 5-5 total. But in his first pick games, he's only won 2 of them. So most of his wins have been not from this first pick position, whether it's the top 2 on the other side, or you're going to see, actually he has 11 games now because he got played a little bit earlier. But that's something that I think is going to be a very big and important distinction to be made here. The Dragons may be breaking a trend that has happened throughout the rest of the weekend, but that is a little bit of a problem, and you called it right on there. And I can't believe we live in a world where Mercury got top 3'd because it's just so rare. But it happened, J-Mac.
We live in a world where Mercury Zhonghui got top 3.
I want to go find out if they've ever done a Mercury top 3.
I cannot. Well, obviously they'd probably Mercury top 3 back when Sam was actually dominating on the guy, and he got 28 bans against him because of it. I can imagine maybe then he was getting some of them. But Hachiman and the Morrigan on the opposite side here for Sleekness. The Morrigan had been banned away from their mid laner so many times through. So Sleekness now finally maybe getting Neu on something more comfortable. Dude Man Bro on Hachiman, which he's been performing stellarly on throughout the weekend and throughout his time in the SCC. And then they get a Nike as a nice little frontline bonus here. Sleekness with a pretty nice top 3 to try to change things out.
And I'll give them credit. I doubted them picking Mercury top 3 for a lot of this year. Half the games that he had played up to this point were top 3 with the Mercury. So maybe I'm the one who needs to make sure that I double check that one. And Zhang Kui's been up there twice in a lot of their games. So, not necessarily the most priority for them, but it is something that they do like to pick up in their top 3. And honestly, it's probably because of what I was highlighting earlier, right? If you don't get Mercury right there, it's getting banned from you. There's no way they are there. Well, I guess there's 2 worlds we live in. There's a world where it gets banned and you're like, oh no, Sam, you have to play something else. And then there's another world which I'm infuriated because it doesn't get picked and then Sleekness didn't ban it, and I'd have been real mad then. But luckily we don't have to live in that world. Instead, they still have to deal with Mercury and they're probably not happy about it.
Yeah, that would not have been a great day for you and I here on the desk.
Oh no, I would have been fine. I think Sleekness would have been upset.
Well, I was going to say, on the battleground, it would not have been a very fun game for them having to go up against the Mercury if they didn't pick it top 3 and then ban it away here, and it still somehow slips through. But that is not the case. Instead, the second wave of bans going to get spent on a little bit of the dual lane here for Sleekness. They banned Ganesh and Heimdall. The Jade Dragons, they take away a couple of assassins, Nemesis and Serket. Not the 2 gods I would have 100% expected, especially with the performance that Oath had on Susano last game. And now Sleekness just get a 4th pick of Geb, who Aggro will sit here and preach to the high heavens as being one of the best gods in the game. We'll see if we can do something here for Sleekness.
I love Sleekness's draft in this game more than anything they've played today because it and it's specifically like Nike and Geb are just going to be good. They slot in really well to pretty much any team that you're going to be able to play it. But this Hachiman, we talked about it coming into today, was one of their higher performing gods, especially that we saw earlier in the week, but just in general for Dude Man Bro. And of course, when you look at the Morrigan, I think that is one of the better mid laners that we have gotten to see for Sleekness as well. When Nehu was playing Zeus, it looked great, and the Morrigan was a really good secondary pick. Plus, you get good transformations. You got the Nike on your side. If Mercury gets out of hand, all of a sudden you get to turn into a nice, really, really fun hyper carry. But I expect to see this Nike come up a little bit more often than not. And I think this opens up Sleekness to play their game a little bit more than the Dragons forcing them to play the way the Dragons want.
The Dragons are looking at Sylvanas and Onher, currently being hovered, not locked in just yet, so I won't really get my hopes too far out there for either of these picks just yet. The Onher kind of being bounced around here. So we know now with the Camazot's Mercury that Camazot's is going to be going over towards the solo lane. Final K piloting that one. Mercury back in Sam's hands. Zhonghui obviously now going to the mid lane since the Camazot's will be in solo. And it will be a Sylvanas lock-in for the Jade Dragons. So Mike going from one healer to another. And then Panicat going on one of his signature picks here in Season 8, the Danzaburo. How do you feel about this dual lane out of the Dragons?
Honestly, I actually am a huge fan of Sylvanas. So going up against Hachiman Geb, I mean, you're going to have pressure, right? That's actually the biggest thing. Geb's not going to be able to give you too much. Hachiman, as good as his clear can be, it's not going to help balance out Sylvanas and Danzaburo. So ultimately, you are going to lose a little bit of the lane phase. But kill potential-wise, maybe a little slower overall for, I think, both lanes. A good pull when the Geb shield isn't available is going to absolutely tear through the Hachiman, though. So I think ultimately you're just going to see the Dragons getting easy farm. That makes it a lot easier for Sam to not even worry about the duo lane because of the pressure they already have. You can go focus on mid. If you need to, you can go help out that Camazotz, because if he's going up against Nike, especially pre-shield Nike, 2 Assassins can absolutely eat through her health bar.
Now the final pick here for Sleekness towards their jungler. Oath went with Susano last time, and he's going to go with Thor this time around. We saw Thor out of SOT yesterday, had a decent performance with this assassin in the solo lane. But Gore, how do you feel about Thor in the jungle right now, here in game number 3 up against the Dragons?
You know, I like his CC, and I like what Thor can bring. But I think there's a good reason we're not seeing as much Thor. Granted, there's a lot of assassin bans, a lot of jungle-specific centered bans in this game, so it is kind of isolating it. I mean, I still am a big fan, and the way the games have been going have been very brawl-centric, and so you get a good passive for that. You're going to get a little bit of extra power. I think it was also boosted a couple of patches ago. So theoretically, the fight back from this Thor could be pretty good, but the problem is realistically just the impact that he's going to have versus the Mercury. Mercury's been getting hands-on real quick, and so Thor's going to have to do a lot to keep up with that. Good ult, though, good presence, so if we start to see ganks, if Oath has even half the game that he had last time around, the Thor is not really going to be the point that worries me. It's going to be the duo lane right now that is definitely going to be struggling earlier on. But as I mentioned earlier, Hachiman, Morrigan, very solid picks for them. Geb, despite the lack of pressure, does translate well into the late game. I think if Sleekness can just hold on a little bit, delay the game, they'll be fine.
So this draft here, even with the Thor kind of at that final one, still looking to be probably their best draft that they've made so far in this setup against the Dragons?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hands down. I love this draft way more than games 1 and 2. Like, game 1 didn't feel like Sleekness. Game 2 felt slightly more like Sleekness, but it didn't get to translate well into play. These are gods that we've seen them perform on in the past, and so I have not only a lot more hope for them, but also a lot of belief behind at least their capabilities. I think this is going to be the closest one we've got.
Well, Mifflin alluded in game 1 to potentially seeing at least one win here out of Sleekness up in this setup against the JADE Dragons. And this is one of their last opportunities to do so. They're down 2-0. They lose here. They move on to face the loser of our next match, which would be between the Valkyries and the Olympus Bolts. And that's going to make their path towards a little bit harder, or at least a little bit longer, I should say. You got to play even more matches in order to get to that point here. Do you think this is the game here that Sleekness can maybe at least try and get one to turn against the Dragons?
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, they have to, right? Because otherwise they're getting eliminated. But I do think that this is a game that they had, like, this is their best shot at doing so. I would have loved to have seen a draft similar to this a little bit earlier, but of course, things were stifling them. One, you get the Morrigan that was taken away from them in a couple of these games, but also that Zeus in game 1 was just too much of a powerhouse to deal with.
What's the last shot for Sleekness to get a win over the JADE Dragons? Can they do it here in game number 3?
I don't know. Sleekness has got a lot of ground to make up after what we've seen in games 1 and 2. And Myth, apparently I'm not allowed to feel confident even if Oath is off to a 5-0 start in this game. It feels like, unless it's a 9K gold lead 10 minutes in, I'm not going to be sure if Sleekness. That's the mark. That's the mark I'm setting. Unless it's 9K plus 10 minutes in. Nah, JADE Dragons coming back. They're going to win that game. All jokes aside.
Is that a joke?
Nope, I was serious. I meant it. I said it. I meant it. The JADE Dragons, they give themselves this Mercury for a 3rd game in a row. Hurriwind on the Zhang Kui was the beneficiary of some good situations in game 2 and was able to capitalize well. And in the jungle matchup here in this game, bringing up the Mercury, I am sad and I'm hopeful because Thor is like one of my favorite gods in the game. And so I'm hopeful that Oath is able to make some plays happen here, Myth. But talk to me about carry ability. You're 6-0 on a Susano, and the game still doesn't go your way. Are you feeling more confident? Say Oath is off to the same start that he was in game 1, or in game 2 rather, here in game 3. Is Thor giving you more confidence with the rest of the team that Sleekness has?
Woo! Nice pull from Quig. Gonna find the taunts in as well. Dropping them low. Could be first blood. Bandicat
Oh, no,
can't connect the last auto attack. Good peel from Dude Man Bro 429. But it does cost him his beads. So anyway, you're asking about Thor in the jungle. So yeah, assuming
so
that
much.
Oath is
I can't
gonna get to that exact same start of 6-0. I'm less confident because Thor, blanket statement, worse than Susano.
Okay, fair enough. Oh, and so you did my thing, so I'll just do your job now, right? Is that how that works? No. That was a good pull-in from PBM onto Quig.
Oh, nice.
Doesn't force much, though Dude Man Bro did have to use the beads. Panda Cat had to use those beads as well. And so PBM on this Sylvana Smith, I think, is going to be a fun story to follow throughout this game. The Emoja was oppressive in game number 2. A Sylvanas who's feeling himself can be much the same. Sanford Soccer on the Mercury. Haven't seen these early ganks over in the solo lane that much. We see one here, Chronic. Goodbye, says Chronic. Ooh, but goodbye, says Fine Okay. I'll take that one to go. And the Kamazot's off to a first blood.
Man, and Kamazot's getting off to a roaring start does not bode well for Chronic in the solo lane. This is about the only opportunity that Fine Okay would have had to have killed this Nike. Once Sentinel of Zeus comes online, I don't really think there's going to be much 1v1 or even 2v1 potential as insofar as Chronic is playing at least relatively safe in the lane. But now, Fine Okay, with a 1-level lead, can start putting pressure onto the enemy blue buff, maybe even starting to move towards these back camps. And when the soul laner is ahead, that generally starts to bleed out towards the jungler. This could make Oath really suffer, as long as, you know, Fine Okay does decide to leverage that lead early on. Seems like with the timing of the buffs and the timing of that kill, right there, not the greatest opportunity.
Quig pulled in by PBM. Mike was fishing for that same pull a moment ago on the rollout from Quig. Came up empty-handed this time, though. Able to grab Quig and pull him right back towards Panda Cat. The Danzaburo myth feels like it's been a Panda Cat special for a while here in Season 8. Was a period of time where more ADCs in the SPL were playing this pick. Panda Cat still, every once in a while, will lean back into it. If I see a Danza locked in, I'm assuming it's Panda Cat playing it. And it's such a unique kind of power curve there as Mike relentless around the purple buff. Oath, maybe making something happen here in mid. Hurrywin's got beads, doesn't need to use them. Sanford Soccer, though, he makes his way mid, but with Hurrywin low and no ultimate, nothing more to be had there. But you want to be able to get this lead, don't you? When you're Danzaburo in the duo lane, you want to be able to put pressure on Sleekness.
Yeah, Danzaburo is the god of win harder. Once you've got a lead on the Rocket Raccoon, the ultimate is essentially a one-shot, one-kill, right? You're going to land the stun immediately into the taunt, find that triple sake bomb as well. So that's generally why we see the Jade Dragons in the past, when they've locked in Mercury, go towards this Danzaburo, because Mercury is a god that is very adept at putting the duo lane ahead, as well as Danzaburo's got some phenomenal follow-up on the Sonic Boom.
Yep.
So keep your eyes on Sam. If this is anything like sets of past, he's going to be jamming it down.
Sam and Oath, meeting of the minds on opposite sides of the jungle. That's Anvil of Dawn up. So he may be thinking that there's a re-engage from somewhere, maybe just getting
Strange.
some vision down beneath himself. And, you know, largely unimpactful as far as the immediate game state, but that was the first Anvil of Dawn we've seen this game, and as far as the next little bit of time goes, minute or so, that's going to be on cooldown. So Oath's ability to immediately impact with that ultimate now missing.
Dave, I don't say this often.
Okay.
I have got zero inkling as to why Oath would have hit that button when he did. Maybe he's worried that Hurrywind was like stealthing up on him, and then I realized, oh wait, no, Hurrywind's the Zhongqi, so that's not an option.
Right.
Maybe he thought Sanford Soccer was going to blink over the wall and chase him down. Sanford Soccer does not have blink.
Right.
There's really nothing Oath could have done with that.
Oath doesn't have Anvil of Dawn for this. Does have the hammer to get out alive, but Fine Okay taking a 2v1, feeling just fine about it. But Hurrywin being jumped on here. Great opportunity for Sleekness to get a kill in this game. Bat out of hell from Nehu on the transformation. Gets it done. And the Sleekness mid laner able to find a kill. Sanford Soccer, he's got his ultimate, and Chronic learns that the hard way. Jade Dragons pull one back.
Man, just Hurrywin getting caught out in mid. Phenomenal rotation from the duo lane of Sleekness, both Quig and Dude Man Bro. The cavalry show up and make sure that he is able to finish off that kill. But on the other side, Sanford Soccer realizing that there's nobody else here. Maybe I just fully commit onto Chronic, and with the help of Fine Okay, able to tear one back from the other side. Early on, it's the Jade Dragons, the exact same pacing we've seen every single game. Golden experience, all favoring the SPL veterans.
This one is a pretty hefty gold lead given the timing of the game, 1.5k, nearly 6 minutes in. Nehu's got to use the beads here, get some good damage in onto PBM. And Nehu takes plenty of it in return. One of those two characters has sustain, but there's not enough sustain. His Oath on the rotation in. We'll double tap Mike and put him in the grave. Hurrywin walks forward, does not have his ultimate. Save for Soccer though, forces out the beads. Who nearly gets another double tap worth of damage. Has Anvil of Dawn. This would be risky for Oath to go back in on this fight, so he will not. And an effective trade from Sleekness in the mid lane.
Maybe a slight miscommunication for Sleekness, though. Quig still had the Stone Shield available and uses it just in time to cleanse off that CC that Sanford Soccer had applied to Oath, but Oath was playing for himself. Maybe the communications weren't there, and he uses the beads as well. So that is an expensive fight for Sleekness. Nehu no longer has beads. Oath as well has lost his defensive relic. Blink down on Quig. This is an opportunity for the Jade Dragons to take a fight despite losing out in that engagement.
Miff, have you seen like this level of tier 1 tower mid pressure early in games in a long time? I'm thinking about how early the Sleekness mid towers have fallen down. All you can do is laugh. That is absurd. Sanford Soccer, he's going to die. But that was gross from everyone on the Jade Dragons. Unfortunately, you're trading back 2 kills. As far as fun goes, I think the Jade Dragons win.
Yeah, 100%.
As far as trade goes, though, Sleekness in the 2-for-1 feeling like they got some good value.
Man, Nehu steps up. He's like, I've got Changeling. No way I die. I've got Chronic preloaded. I was going to Sentinel of Zeus, and he gets immediately shut down and clotheslined by Sanford Soccer. But there is risk to playing inside an enemy tower at the 7-minute mark, and the Jade Dragons receive the brunt of it. A good trade for Sleekness, and now some slight leads potentially. Nehu, despite falling down first, got a 1-level advantage over Hurrywinds.
You know, sometimes, and that's one of those moments to be clear, words aren't going to do it justice. Pure laughter is about all that came to mind there, because that was some of the most damage I've seen do in that short of a window in a long, long time.
Uh-oh.
Chronic. Unlucky. This has been happening from minute 1. And Miff, you know, now it makes sense because of how far Fine OK is, and Sanford Soccer has got a pretty decent lead as well. We thought that early in this laning phase was the only time you were going to be able to kill off this Nike.
Oh, man.
No, but it's been a combo of Fine OK and Sanford Soccer. Nehu transforms
How did Mike get here?
Well, he just walks on over on the Sylvanas, gets the knock-up on a Nehu, forces the bat out of hell. Oath does not have Anvil of Dawn, but does have a slow applied Sanford Soccer with his 3rd kill, and it looks like the build is going to be the same for this Mercury Crusher into a Rage. And if this pace continues, that Rage is going to be fully stacked shortly.
Man, the Jade Dragons, they're just playing with confidence. They show up even when Sleekness are winning out on trades. It's like the Jade Dragons don't care. They legitimately are not concerning themselves with what their opposition are doing or what they've got or who they are. It's just, we're going to go into your Tier 1 tower. We're probably going to take that Tier 1 tower, and they have, by the way, both in mid and solo. We're going to take some lives, and if we're lucky, we're going to walk out, but that's not the goal. It doesn't super matter. It seems like the Jade Dragons are very willing for these kamikaze attacks, and more often than not, they are walking away from them.
Yeah, it's a team that's feeling themselves right now. Remember, the 1-for-2 trade was like a slight glimmer of hope for Sleekness, who's only 1 kill behind, by the way, but near 3,000 gold. What did that turn into? A 3-level deficit for Oath, who was there in that trade, and a 2-level deficit for Chronic, who was ganked by Sanford Soccer a moment later. A 1-level lead for Nehu, though.
That's huge.
That's part of the pullback there in the mid lane. So Hurrywin just a bit down, but everyone else way, way up over their oppositions on Sleekness. And maybe you're thinking, all right, well, Dude Man Bros maybe been left alone with Panda Cat, who wasn't wildly ahead. Maybe that's a point of progress for this Sleekness team. No, Panda Cat a little bit ahead immediately in the build. You imagine Dude Man Bro will head back, finish up an item. But outside of mid-miff, not much is working here for this Sleekness team, and everywhere Sanford Soccer goes, blood, well, it tends to rain down, and looks like the left side of the map is going to be the next as Quig tossed by the wayside.
Hey, Dude Man Bro still has his ultimate, is going to get hit by the Sonic Boom and loses out on the beads, but shoot, whoa, he canceled it?
Yeah, he did. Mike canceled it out, but this is what we see in Oath on the re-engage. The Anvil
What?
Dawn, after the fact, has pulled back a kill or 2 for Oath. This time it's just a kill onto Sanford Soccer. There's still a Thor here. There's a second Thor here as Nehu's transformed, and the Anvil of Dawn rings down on the left side of the map for a second time. But FidoK's level 12, and he's got 2 kills, and Hurrywin's in as well. You do not want to be a part of this fight if you're Sleekness. You get 2, but you lose everyone but Chronic.
That was a lot of interesting decision-making in the micro. We can evaluate how the fight starts. It's Sanford Soccer trying to set up for Panda Cat on the Danza Burrow. Sleekness over towards the Draugr, are able to pick that structure up, but lose out on a couple of lives. Quig falls down first. I thought Dude Man Bro was going to hop on Epona and just ride out of there into the sunset. Instead, cancels his own ultimate and then gets knocked up by PBM. How does PBM know that Dude Man Bro's going to cancel it immediately as well to utilize that ultimate. Kind of crazy. The reaction timing on that one, and the Jade Dragons with superior rotations, despite playing against a double global composition. There were 2 Thors for Sleekness. It's the Dragons who get there first. They get the fight, and now the Gold Fury as well.
And maybe, I don't know, maybe Dude Man Bro is told by Oath that he's about to dunk in. And
Well, that's certainly, right?
It's the only option. Dude Man Bro will back here safely.
Sneaky.
As Sanford Soccer and Final K were searching. Final K has gone into the Transcendence now on the Camazotz. So Blackthorn is the popular item in the solo lane. Both Chronic and Final K have that. But a Transcendence stacking up for Final K. If you thought that Mercury wasn't enough to deal with, and now Hurrywind, who was a level down, is now a level up, wasn't enough to deal with. And Mike, who's got a level lead, and Panda Cat. If you didn't think any of them were enough, you got Final K, who's building into damage. He's 3-0-3 on the Camazotz. And unfortunately, Myth, we have not seen the bounce-back potential from Sleekness in games 1 or 2. Gonna need to see it here, and 3 straight games, or else they're going down to the other side of this bracket.
Yeah, that would be tough stuff, but, you know, no shame in it. It's the Jade Dragons. You know, these guys are synonymous with the SPL holistically. They're not out of it, Sleekness. I feel like I've said that every single game so far.
Here's the thing. All right,
Okay,
you know what?
yeah,
Here's
feel
the thing,
free.
Myth. We're gonna
Let me know.
We're 12 minutes in. It's a 5,500 gold lead.
Good lord.
The Jade Dragons have controlled every facet of this game.
Yep.
The kills that Sleekness have all been on return kills from plays that Jade Dragons have made but
So
overextended on. The Jade Dragons haven't fumbled even slightly despite being down 5 kills to Oath in game number 2.
Yep.
And so I appreciate you sowing some intrigue.
Oh, thank you.
And there is some to be had.
Is there?
There is some to be had. But it's not much. The Jade Dragon, and it's
Oh,
just
here it
because
is.
of history. They have not showed us any signs of slowing
Oh,
down.
great
Panda
ult.
Cat rockets out. As Hurrywind rotates in from the mid lane, the wall will receive the rocket from the Jade Dragon's Hunter. Oath dunks down. Hurrywind is alone, but Zhang
Great
Kui
pull.
just fine to sustain himself up. Nehu is transformed here as well. A fantastic target. This Final K's got some good items in that build. Nehu pulls a kill back. This is what we've seen. Sleekness punishing an overextension. Now Sanford Soccer alone in the purple buff pit, but he trades places with Oath, and he's walking out of the backside of this fight. Quig rolls on through, but he does not have enough damage. Sanford Soccer will live unless the minions get it done. They will not. And Final K drops back into the back end of this fight. Will punish Sleekness for being here.
Double root from PBM keeps Quig locked down. Credit for the kill goes over to Panda Cat. Chronic and utilize that Sentinel of Zeus to walk out. There was some pretty insane individual plays that I'll break down once Chronic falls down. Pull, no good. Final K connects the slow, and Chronic walks on out of there. We saw PBM cancel the EI Jutsu from Dude Man Bro, which would have likely have killed Panda Cat with his ultimate. And then later on, it was Nehu who transforms into the Camazotz, jumps over the wall, would have immediately shut down Hurrywind. PBM frame perfect, pulls him on landing back through the wall. The Sylvanas plays are crispy so far. The Jade Dragons.
You saying Mike's good at Smite or something?
Yeah, I guess so, man.
You saying a level 13 Sylvanas?
Level 13?
Tied with everyone on Sleekness
All
and
of
then
them.
some. Yeah, he's doing all right here.
He's okay.
Yeah, he's fine in game 3. Look, it has been far from an easy year for the Jade Dragons or the Jade Dragons fans. This is a set you would expect the Dragons to win. That said, the fashion in which they've done it, after a bit of a break, after a disappointing exit from the Phase 3 playoffs, you had to see a game like this to feel confident, to feel happy about the Jade Dragons. You needed to see a set like this to show you that the Dragons are refocused and remotivated, and they sure are. And with a win here in Game 3, we'll move one set away from a guaranteed spot in the Smite World Championships in the main bracket, happening in just a few weeks' time. It's coming up quickly here, Myth. Sleekness, if they lose this game, they're not out of it just yet. They'll have another chance against the loser of our next matchup, which is the Olympus Bolts versus the Valhalla Valkyries. But, all right, so we saw what? It was an 18-minute Fire Giant Game 1.
Yep.
I think 17-something in Game 2. If the Jade Dragons go for it here in the next couple minutes, they will just continuously one-up themselves. And that Rage is fully stacked. The Transcendence is fully stacked. There's plenty of damage to get those objectives done.
Yeah, you got the Serrated Edge finished up on Sanford Soccer, so his burst potential, his core of the build completed all the way. Seems like Final K is actually going to be going down the crit tree as well. Not something you get to see.
This is 2v4.
Yeah,
see how it turns
they
out.
lose
2v4. This should be a Sleekness win, but Mike gets a pretty good ultimate. Panda Cat.
What? What?
Oh no, he forces Dude Man Bro to use Jaegus. That was nearly disastrous for Sleekness. You have to win a 2v4 That's a dunk down from Oath. Does not connect for the stun, but the wall sure does. And this is where the reactionary nature of the Jade Dragons will make Sleekness pay. You've gotten Panda Cat, but it's going to cost you at least Nehu and likely Quick.
Quick walking out of there slowly. Doesn't even get a chance to channel the rollout. Going to fall down to Sam for Soccer. Chronic makes his rotation in, has the ultimate available, but likely will not try and chase out this battle. Sleekness in a 4 versus 2, take 1, and then lose 2.
That's good math.
Thank you.
For the Jade. No, I mean, like, that's
Oh, not me.
by the Jade Dragons, that's just good, like, good stats, good math for them that works out
Yeah, agreed.
in every aspect of the game. Without a Fire Giant, only a couple Furies, they'll find themselves 10,000 gold
Already?
in the lead. And we had a conversation about, you know, the winner dogs in the other side of the bracket, the other SCC team, and how we're feeling about their confidence up against the loser of the Warriors and the Solar Scarabs. I don't know. I mean, both of those teams felt like they played pretty well yesterday.
I thought you were going to say you don't know who won. It's like it was
Oh my God.
yesterday.
Yeah, and I was on desk for it
Me too.
with you.
Yeah.
Of course I know who won. Who won?
I think it was like the Scarabs or something.
What's nerve-wracking now about Sleekness, and if this result should hold, is that we saw enough from the winner dogs, despite a 3-0 loss to the Leviathans. A couple of those games were interesting enough.
A lot closer than these have been.
A lot closer than these have been. Interesting enough that the winner dogs at least feel competitive, right, against you know, what could be the Olympus Bolts or the Valhalla Valkyries. The Jade Dragons will not best their Fire Giant time from game 2.
They might
We'll get
tie
pretty
it.
close to it. It might be a tie. I don't know if I feel the same about Sleekness, no, Myth. I mean, look, this is the Jade Dragons. This is the style of game that they can play. Sleekness did not show us much here today. And so you hope for just a complete transformative effort the next time we see this team play.
You gotta hope. Thor still has not made his way back to base. The Jade Dragons already inside the Phoenix. Nehu invisible, but not willing to step in, and the Phoenix falls down. Sleekness decided to trade out a tier 2 tower on the left-hand side and lose out on the more important objective on the right.
Are you giving it back to me?
Yeah,
You're going to do some chair 1, give it back to me?
Yeah, go for it.
So Sleekness, and my point is, you know, if you're placing bets on our next set, fans would have the
Surely
Jade Dragons in the lead. Okay. This is a 1v5.
Four now.
Technically 4, because Final K's already deleted Nehu. We'll see. I want to see some resurgence here from the Valhalla Valkyries and Sleekness. Hopefully able to get their feet back underneath them in what has been a disappointing set for Sleekness. A fantastic set, though, for the Jade Dragons, as this lead has, if it weren't already, it's officially out of control. And the last-ditch effort from Sleekness underneath their mid-lane Phoenix. Dude, man, bro, he is melting in the backline, and it is Final K, who probably didn't need to press any buttons except left click. He will auto-attack down the Sleekness AD carry. It is a 7-0 finish for the Jade Dragons solo laner, a 3-0 finish in this set for the Jade Dragons, and they will move on in the SWC placement rounds.
Man, Sleekness just weren't able to get their feet under them, Dave. Generally, this is a team that loves to play that early game aggressive style where they're playing these unorthodox picks, but it's felt like the Jade Dragons...
in game 2, right?
I mean, kinda. If you're being generous, I suppose.
I'm nothing if not generous.
The Jade Dragons had their number, right? Well, what do we associate with Sleekness? It's these off-brand, off-kilter support picks. E-Set was first-round banned every single game this set. We associate early game aggression with Sleekness. Jade Dragons, well, we associate the same thing with them, and they do it slightly better, clearly. Yep. Tough stuff, man. Sleekness just weren't allowed to play their game.
Not at all. And the Jade Dragons were able to do whatever they want, despite a 5-0, a 6-0 Oath in game number 2. Jade Dragons didn't flinch. Jade Dragons 3-0 start to their SWC placement round. Sleekness, they'll be awaiting the loser of our next matchup, the Olympus Bolts versus the Valhalla Valkyries. Post-game desk coming up next.
Still technically have Fire Giant for Fino K, and he is under this Phoenix with his team. Players Aurora putting up a defense here and there. Big bounce to do 1 damage is coming out. Layers is just gone.
I've never seen that bounce before. Not once have I ever seen it used that way. I don't think Layers had either, man. That is nuts.
take off my jacket for this one.
Dude, no, I know he was supposed to take you out last weekend, but he got busy.
YouTube.com/SmitePro to catch up on all the behind-the-scenes action that goes on during the times of the Smite Pro League or the downtimes of the Smite Pro League when we have and I'm going to take this coin term here from Gormizer, the Smite Pro Lounge, as we've kind of recalled it here for our Monday events whenever we have the pros come in, play some games, do some trivia, have all kinds of 1v1 action. It all goes up on the Smite Pro YouTube channel, so make sure to go check that out. There's also the Smite Pro weekly recaps that I put out there with the help of my video guy. All I do is sit here and say words. He does all the heavy lifting. So check out all the cool stuff on youtube.com/SmitePro. These won't go here. These will go on the VOD channel. But let's talk about game number 3 because it happened. Final K was in the duo lane at 10 minutes. And, I think that's all that I can really say there is that Final K was on the opposite side of the map 10 minutes in the game getting double kills.
Yeah, I think that, you look at this grand scheme, you know what? They did exactly what we asked. They spread the kills out. It wasn't just Oath getting kills this time. Unfortunately, there weren't a lot of kills to be had there for Sleekness. So, yeah, I think ultimately you can look at what happened for them, and it's an unfortunate start for this portion of the bracket, especially as a showcase up against the Dragons. But if you're looking at the other side, first off, it's double elim, so Sleekness, they're going to be fine. They're going to be playing against either the Bolts or the Valkyries, depending on who wins and loses the next set. But realistically, what you can look at here is the Dragons, one step closer to a chick to Worlds, but 2, a very clean start to their week/weekend because they get to come in, have great KDAs, good kills. Final K was like 7-0-7 or something ridiculous like that in this game. They felt very, very comfortable, confident. Didn't really play anything crazy outlandish either. Like, Mercury is something that they played in the past, Jonquay as well, but it's not something they've been doing a lot recently, so maybe you show a little bit of your hand, but at the end of the day, I think you had good games, and I think you were able to get away with doing a lot without showing off too much and being able to prepare for now your finals matchup on, Saturday?
Actually, no, I think that's
tomorrow. Yeah, you're right.
Tomorrow these guys get a face-off again, and I think you're right to highlight, we talk about this a lot with, the SCC teams coming up in here, but I think it's equally important with these SPL teams of not having to show too much of your hand. Teams already knew how good how Sam for Soccer was on this Mercury. Everyone knows how good PBM is on Yamoja and Sylvanas. Everybody knows Panda Cats Gods. Nothing out here really is out of the ordinary for the Jade Dragons. It just felt like another day of the week for these guys.
Yeah, I think this is, again, just a good showcase of what they've been able to do. I want to do the math real fast. It is now 85% win rate for the Mercury. I kind of quick mathed that earlier, and I'm very proud that it is just a good pick for them. It seems to fit, and honestly, the way the items have transitioned, it's actually a pick that can actually show up. I think that's kind of the big thing, especially, like Crusher, a couple of buffs there, a couple of cost efficiency changes for things like Jotuns, and, Brawler's got, I think, a little bit of a buff. I think it opens up a lot more of Sam's God Pool, and that's going to make these next couple of days, as well as SWC, if the Dragons get to make it there, a lot more interesting.
Well, we've talked nonstop about Sam through these games, so now instead of talking about him, let's go ahead and talk to Sam for Soccer, standing by for our post-game interview. First off, Sam, thank you for joining me here on the post-game. Talk to me a little bit of how it feels to get to play Mercury 3 games in a row after having, what Gore said, like 28 bans against you throughout the Pro League.
I mean, yeah, it's fine. Merc's always fun, so I like to play him. Just kind of feel like whipping him, so yeah.
How's it feel kind of getting to come into this match, and it just feels like you guys really didn't have to kind of pull out any hat tricks. You guys kind of just got to play your own game.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely wanted to take it seriously when we did, because they're like definitely a good team, even though they're SCC doesn't mean like we can take it lightly. But yeah, we didn't have to show like everything we've done, obviously, so that just feels good.
Well, you guys are one set closer to going to the Smite World Championships. You got one game tomorrow up against the winner of this next set. Any expectations or predictions for this Bolts Valkyrie set, and then you guys playing up against the winner of that?
Yeah, I think it's just the expectation's probably that the Bolts will win, but I guess you never know right at the end of the day. But yeah, I guess we're definitely expecting to play them. But yeah, I mean, we're confident against either one, so.
All right, well, Sam, thanks for sticking by for the post-game interview. Congrats on your game. I'll let you get back with the team so that way you guys can celebrate your victory.
Yeah, thanks.
Just calm, collected throughout there. And I think another important note, and it's one thing that we've said, it's one thing that so many of the pros said, is even though this is an SCC team, you do still have to show a lot of respect to them. And you could see it there just in the ban phase alone, really focusing out that dual lane. The Ola run, the E set was such a common ban by these Dragons. It was in all 3 of those games to try and shut out that dual lane.
And successfully did so, right? I mean, Quig did not get to have the performance today that we got to see on the E set a couple of days ago. So really good target bans. The Dragons obviously did their homework. Now they've given the exact same amount of games to whoever wins this next set, only 3 to work with for whoever moves on to the finals, which is definitely going to be difficult when they do their homework.
Yeah, let's take a look at the schedule and the bracket to see how everything breaks down here after our first set of the day. The JADE Dragons move on after a 3 over Sleekness, and the next match up is going to be the Olympus Bolts up against the Valhalla Valkyries. And you heard it from Sam, probably expectations across the board here are with the Olympus Bolts to get their win. They move on, and potentially then now throwing the Valhalla Valkyries down towards Sleekness. But I always say this, Gore, it is Smite. You never know what's going to happen until something actually happens on the battleground itself. But the JADE Dragons do move on here. Sleekness now down on the lower half of the bracket in that bronze match to play. They'll play the loser of this next game between the Olympus Bolts and Valhalla Valkyries, and then that team will have one final chance after that to still make it to the Smite World Champions, because we do take 2 teams out of every group.
Yep.
So winner of tomorrow, the 2 matches tomorrow, means that they get the winner of that means they guarantee go to SWC, and then there's still one more between those 3 that we have to go through. Before we get into that match, Gore, I mean, it's been fun to have you over here on the desk talking about JADE Dragons and all that, but we got one more set coming up after this. The Olympus Bolts and the Valhalla Valkyries coming up right after this break.